Yes, 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 I know I made you wait. But may I respectfully point out to all of you, I am most certainly worth the wait. Hi, how are you doing out there in internet land? My name is Brian Trippett. This is the Electronic Front Porch, and more specifically, this is Front Porch Brunch, our weekend get together where we wrap up things in the news, put them in a little package, tuck them away up here or in there, depending on how you want to drill, and we try to get ourselves ready for the next week that is about to come. We are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on that quaint little alternative social media platform known as YouTube. So please, if you have not done so already, would you please send out word to your friends, share the link both on Rumble and YouTube, tell your friends, get in here. Look, you're going to be up anyway. You're drinking coffee. You're cleaning up the kitchen from breakfast. You're starting your day. Maybe you're having some kegs and eggs with friends at football. You got to catch up on what's going on anyway. Why don't you come in here and check out this weirdo? Because he actually acts like he knows what he's talking about most of the time. Okay, maybe occasionally. All right, you get the idea. Again, my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. I am sometimes known in social media as the beau in the chapeau. I am sometimes known as the wise guy in the wide brim. But in this moment, at this hour, on this day, I am, above all else, your host. Again, we are on Rumble, we are on Twitter, and we are on YouTube. So please share the link, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment in chat, go crazy, as the legendary Jack Buck used to say. And we'll make this thing something amazingly awesome and more beautiful than what it already is. I have got a string of tabs lined up for you guys this morning. I even have a guest who is going to be on here with me. I'll introduce her here in a minute, as soon as the boys and the band get through winding down the music, which it sounds like they're about to do now. Dun, dun. Okay, good job, guys. Take 5 for me. Yeah, that's right. That's right. And the check's in the mail. Yeah, I know you haven't got the other check yet, but just work with me, okay? So I'm getting ready for this morning's live stream, and one of my good buddies texts me and says, "Hey, man, can I come on?" I'm like, "Hell yeah, I ain't going to turn you away." With that, please help me welcome in from the Gen X Marks the Spot channel, the lovely, the wonderful, the effervescently funny Tracy Barkley. And God, we don't see each other enough anymore. I really wish we'd start getting together more often.
I know. I mean, we don't stream together enough at all.
I know, it's just ridiculous. Well, but you know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
We start streaming together on a regular basis. People are going to start talking, and then they're going to start rumors, and then you got to deal with a jealous spouse, and I got to deal with jealous. Yeah, never mind what I got to deal with. But you get my point here. It's going to be bad all the way around, no matter what happens here. So,
Right.
How you doing this morning, darling?
I'm good. It's been a good morning. Early morning because I got woken up by little 4-legged bladders that needed to go out, and so I got up, made coffee, and I said, "Oh, well, has the Joe Rogan?" And we know what the Joe Rogan podcast has it dropped yet? And sure enough, it had. So I brought it up on the television, and I sat in the living room and I watched almost all of it.
Oh, the stats on that one, and we're going to believe me, we're talking about the Joe Rogan interview. If we don't, we're just as YouTubers and live streamers and social media content creators, we should be sued for malpractice if we don't get into that subject this morning. And safe travels to you, my friend. I hear you're going up to State College for the Trump rally, my brother. Be safe.
Be safe.
And friends, if you're not subscribed to Christian Watson's channel on YouTube, what the heck are you doing? This young man, and I'm not just saying this because he's a friend of mine or because he's here this morning, Christian Watson is probably one of the smartest guys on the internet. You have got to, if you really want to get a deep dive, philosophically, etc., you got to check out Christian Watson. Give him a sub.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I also recommend Real Talk with Darius and Forest Mommy.
Oh, I recommend Forest Mommy. Oh.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And a lot of great. Forest Mommy's doing a lot of great work in local politics in a deep blue
Absolutely.
state of Colorado, and she's out there literally in the trenches.
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And no, and I mean, yeah, laying aside my uh fantastical flirtations that I have with Jessica and Tracy, by the way. Yeah, I'll flirt with this woman in a heartbeat. Um, honestly, Jessica, if you really want a good flavor for local politics and the ins and outs and the guts of what's going on, particularly in Colorado, Jessica is just one of the best. And just she's got a really wonderful sense of humor about her, and just much like my co-host this morning, just chef's kiss beautiful.
And
So
Darius has a great.
oh
He's great at diving into subjects that a lot of people are too afraid to dive into, and that's one reason I like his stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, let's see who all's here this morning. Good grief. Oh, eeny, meeny, miny. We're starting with the YouTube side. Good morning, Miss Gypsy, and mwah, Michigan. I'm loving you guys up there. You guys are kick-ass awesome, and I got some proof of that beyond just the normal proverbial stuff here in a little bit. We got some deep dive into polls, trends, and everything else. And Michigan's, y'all looking good up there, y'all. You're scaring me, but you're looking good. Who else is here this morning? Z Highness. Mwah. Good morning, darling. Lovely Lana. How are ya? Baby doll. Ooh,
Good morning, Lana.
Got all these good looking women in here. Jeez, oh Pete, I don't know if I can handle it all. Let's see. Christian, we've said hello to. The rest of them will stroll in here momentarily. All right, let's get over the wing nuts over on Rumble. And WWG1 has been up to his mischief already. He sent me a bunch of links, which I got you covered. TBA says, good morning, Fedora Nation. Hello, Front Porchers. Brunch is nearly served. Let's see who else is here. Sean from the Third Railify channel. And yes, he is one good dude. So by all means, check him out. He's got a great channel as well. Third Railify. You can find him on any number of places on social media, but by all means, give him a sub. Because, I mean, and I mean this with all my heart, he's a Canadian that you can get behind. Unlike his prime minister up there who, from my lips to God's ear, would you all please get him out of there? Which I think you're on your way to doing it, by the way. It's looking pretty good so far. All right. I am, as y'all tell, I'm a little bit hyped this morning for any number of reasons. Oh, your tardiness is excused, young man. Your tardiness is excused. Hello, Adam. Let's see what we got. Hey, Tracy, do me a favor. Are you getting an echo coming through your speakers? Because I've got people on the Rumble side saying they're getting like some kind of a weird audio effect.
No, I don't hear any.
Not yours? Okay. All right. Maybe I don't know what it is then, but okay, we'll sort it all out. Guys, I am hyped this morning. I have been making preparations for this live stream really since last night, and then this morning my OCD or whatever it is I've got kicked into high gear, and I've got literally this string of tabs, and when I pull up the first one, you're going to see all the stuff I've got lined up, and you're going to think I've gone mad again, like since the last time, which was Thursday. Hang on. Here we go. But yeah, we got a bunch of stuff to get into. And as always, we will start with the merry memes. And I got to thank WWG1 for providing a few of these. I got to thank Adam for providing a few of these. And to everybody who's contributed to the merry memes section of the show, you are greatly, greatly appreciated. So with that, let us begin. No one really understands why certain celebrities in America act the way they do, especially when it comes to politics. For example, Mark Hamill. I mean, look, Mark Hamill is a lefty's lefty. I mean, he's not one of these like moderate lefties that you occasionally find in Hollywood, but he's just straight up, he's out there. And people have been trying to figure out for years, what are this man's motivations? What makes him do this sort of thing? Well, I think somebody finally discovered why it is he's acting this way. So, I guess this happened on the set years ago. Yeah, I think you're right. He's never been the same since. I don't know. You never. I mean, look, you never knew You knew lightsabers were deadly, but you just never knew how bad it could get. I mean, look what it did to the poor guy. I mean, that film was made what 40 years, almost 40 years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
oh god, it really worked on the poor guy. Jeez. There you go. I mean, Tracy. I mean, look at that. I mean, yeah, and they say the right side of the brain affects cognitive thought and all that good stuff. So there you go. What are you gonna do? What you gonna do? Crazy, just plain crazy. Oh, let's see. We have some new folks arriving in. Good morning to the Duke. Howdy, Pilgrim. Let's see who else we got here. Well, hello, Mike. Voted early in Georgia for Kamala, but I respect your choice. Well, all right, fair enough. You have the right to vote for whomever you wish. We agree to disagree. Glad you're here this morning. However, I got some bad news for you coming out of Georgia, dude. The early vote trend ain't looking good, but we'll get to that momentarily. But still, respect your right to vote for Kamala if you wish to do so. Oh, goodness. What else do we have this morning? I tell you what. Tracy, have you noticed that we have reached that point in the political season where, the mudslinging is going back and forth and accusations are being brought up from years and years and years ago?
I remember, I do remember a point in politics. I think it was pre-Bill Clinton. I mean, I was very young, but I was pre-Bill Clinton where the mudslinging was not really a thing. But now, with the advent of Twitter and everything, you can go back and dig up crap on people from 100 years ago.
Well, you phrase it very correctly because the accusations against Trump keep going back further and further and further. And now, just this morning, a new example dropped of something that he is accused of from years ago. I don't know about you guys, but I mean, when you have Queen Nefertiti of Egypt coming out with an accusation against Trump where, she's saying he groped her TTs, and Nefertiti is saying he's just like Hitler, etc. Things are getting bad. I mean, my God,
she's got him dead to rights.
Yeah. I mean, who's going to argue with the credibility of Queen Nefertiti of Egypt? Seriously, you got Donald Trump, you got Queen Nefertiti. I mean, this one might bury his campaign, folks.
That might be the final nail in the coffin.
It might be. I mean, the walls truly are closing in with this one.
Egyptian, an Egyptian deity. What more can you say?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, God, just terrible. Just absolutely terrible.
Get at him and Nefertiti's.
I love this audience. You guys are so shit. Oh, God. Y'all are awful, but I love you.
Hey, if you dig back far enough on Facebook, you might find posts of me ranting against Trump myself, before I did away with my Trump before I got the cure for my Trump derangement syndrome.
I understand completely. Well, by the way, it's not just limited to Trump, by the way. I mean, these accusations that are coming forward, I mean, there's one of them here there's one more accusation that's been made against Trump. And again, I don't know, man. If this stuff is true, I thought I understood Donald Trump, but honest to God, if this stuff is true, I don't know what to think. I mean, now you've got Helen Keller coming out, breaking a 114-year silence, saying that Donald Trump groped her back in 1910.
How'd she know it was him?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's a great question. That's a great question, to be perfectly honest. I mean, she can't see, can't hear. I don't know. Maybe it was, well, hang on. Well, but maybe she felt his hair. She's like, yep, that's Donald Trump's hair. It's got to be him. It's the only thing I can think of. Just absolutely crazy. Oh, goodness. What is this? Took some. Oh, God. Yeah, Adam, you're on a roll this morning, dude. You are on an absolute roll. Good morning, Patty. How you doing? Gorgeous thing. Jadam. Glad to have you here. 6 minutes behind, 1.5 speed activate. You better activate it.
Do I sound smarter on 1.5 speed?
Darling, you sound smart on any speed. There you go. What are you talking about? Oh goodness. Yeah, well, yeah, that's the question that we asked. How did she know it was him? Good grief. Absolutely insane, I tell you. Absolutely insane. But well, wait, oh crap, hang on. All right, we already boomered for the morning. Hopefully that's the only one. But these accusations that are going on right now are not just confined to Trump. This is how bad the mudslinging is getting. I mean, now we've got stuff coming out about Tim Walz. I don't know though, Tracy. This one, this horse is claiming that Tim Walz groped it 30 something years ago. I mean, my God, do animals have no decency? People I know have no decency. Animals, you never have thought something like this. Who is the press agent for this horse? I mean, seriously. Oh my God, it's terrible. Terrible, I say. I don't know, man. I don't know. Just plain crazy. And now this accusation kind of falls in the whole realm of what do you get when you take political mudslinging and you mix it together with Ancestry.com? Well, a lot has been made recently about Doug Imhoff, the husband of Kamala Harris. And, there's been a lot of stories about things that he did or whatever. And this is causing people to dig deeper into his past. Well, of all the things you could have discovered about Doug Imhoff, a Jewish man living in LA, little did people realize he has Indian ancestry in his past. Yeah, I mean, apparently somebody did the DNA. I don't know how they did it. Did some kind of a crazy ass DNA test on this guy, and they found out, apparently he's got some relation to the Native American population in America. Apparently he was once part of the Slapaho tribe. Who knew? I mean, really? I must say what is that? Would that constitute great grandfather, or I mean, what? Because that's
he spun her like a dreidel.
Well, there you go. I mean, when Doug Imhoff hears the song "You Spin Me Right Round, Baby Right Round," that takes on greater significance for him, apparently. Just saying. But yeah, apparently Doug Imhoff's got some Native American in him, so there you go.
Don't all white people have some Native American in them? I mean, really?
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah, Slappy, or Slap Daddy, as I lovingly refer to him. Oh goodness. Mel Brooks did a Jewish Injun thing long before it was cool. That's true. That is true. Laws and gay. Jeez. It's a wild morning this morning. Look, I have no promise about what may come out of my mouth this morning. Tracy can speak for herself. Me, look, I'm just that wired this morning.
Nothing that I say should reflect on the Front Porch Conservative channel. I'm in rare form this morning, and this is my second cup of coffee. Of course, my cups of coffee are about 18 ounces. So, and I'll probably excuse myself to go make another at some point.
Oh, and Adam, we have discovered a new term for, as you are aware, Tracy, we have discovered a new term for the spies of the electronic front porch. We have the porch hounds. And apparently Adam is bucking to get into the porch hound brigade. Apparently, not only this recent discovery about Doug Imhoff's Native American ancestry, apparently it's allowing him to angle into a movie deal. Apparently he's going to star in a film called Dances with Hoes. So I don't know. It's a working title. Maybe it works out for Doug Imhoff or not. I don't know. WWG1 over on Rumble says, "Can I speak for you, Brian?" WWG1, if I let you be my spokesperson, I'm almost scared what kind of trouble you'll get me into. I just don't know. I got to think about that one, buddy. It's just, a little bit of a risky proposition there. Let's see. Lana says, "I am proud part Cherokee, Irish, and Scottish. Did not piss me off." No.
I
Oh,
am British, Irish, Scottish, Apache, and a little bit of sub-Saharan African. My great 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 grandmother was a slave.
wow. Okay. Remind me never to piss you off. Oh,
Why?
okay. Folks, he's here all week, and don't forget to try the veal. I cannot wait till I actually get one of those things where I like can press a button and like do a sound or something. One of those great little I've seen them. I just haven't got one yet, so it'll happen soon. You never know.
Oh, and yes, but I am 100% American. As the Hannah said, I am 100% American. But
Indeed,
it is
indeed,
fun to see where we came from.
that's true. Yeah, especially when I look behind me and there's the bar. I'm sorry to do this in front of a stand-up comedian is probably so. It's like, God, Brian, just give it a rest, son. Just give it a rest. All right, you know, back in the early, I guess, 2010s or whatever it was. What's his name from? Who did the song "Moves Like Jagger"?
Adam. Oh God, it was Maroon 5.
Yeah,
Adam.
it's Maroon 5. Okay, thank you.
Adam, the guy that got like caught cheating on his wife.
So Maroon 5 came up with the song "Moves Like Jagger," and there have been varying adaptations of that. And, you know, some athletes have adopted it as their motto. You got, for example, you know, this guy, that guy. Well, you know, and apparently Patrick Mahomes has his own version of it. Well, let it be known that nobody, be it Patrick Mahomes or Maroon 5, has got moves like Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, he managed to combine his love of dance and sports into one amazing demonstration of how elusive he can be, not just on the field of athletics, but in the field of politics. I mean, check this out. This guy, I mean, apparently Trump was out somewhere playing quarterback, man, and he is just faking everybody. Fakes out Kamala, fakes out Tim, goes into the end zone. I mean, you know, what are you going to do to stop this guy? Look at this. Just amazing. Just absolutely stiff arms Kamala, you know, going down the field. Whoop, whoop, does a little shuffle, a little boogie, and right in the end zone. There you go, man. Just amazing. You know, we never realized how talented Donald Trump could be. Just never did. Oh, what else have we got here? Ah, yes. I'm trying to figure out how to introduce these two. I gotta think about that one too. Adam, whenever you send me these, they come very, very. I don't say I have to be careful with them, but it's like, oh man. Okay, I know how I want to do this now. What do you get when you take climate activism and a Nazi charge?
You get the only thing the Democrats can stand on at this point.
Well, not quite. You get, how dare you? Greta Thunberg and a mustache. There you go, folks.
I'll dare you.
How dare you? You know, very. Folks, we're a comedy team. We're here all week. Tip your waitresses. Try the veal. You know. So yeah, there you go. Greta Thunberg and a stash. As if you didn't have enough trouble digesting your breakfast this morning, here, let me help you out. Oh, God.
Is it okay to make fun of her now that she's over 18?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. She is fair game for ridicule.
When she was a minor, I wouldn't touch it.
No, exactly.
Fair game.
But now that you're over
equality.
Yeah, now that you're 18, you're going to be treated just like the asshole you are. So there you go. You know, you're fair game for ridicule and mockery. Couple of more of these wonderful little missives that have been given to me by various people. You know, much has been made in the 21st century about, you know, the relationship between men and women and what men should be and everything else. And particularly, I guess, like everything now is bleeding over into politics, or maybe it's better to say politics is bleeding over into the discussions about manhood and what it should be. Well, we now have an idea, or at least an envisioning of if a liberal could describe the perfect male, what would it look like? Well, in the mind of the modern political liberal philosopher, the ideal male looks like a guy on his way to get his wife's boyfriend a pack of Newports.
I was about to say a woman, but
Yeah, true.
yeah.
There you go.
I had a friend that he posted, he and his wife love him to death. Used to do conferences with him when I was an atheist. But he posted on Facebook the other day, when his white guys for Harris shirt, and I had to look at him and go, "Yep, you fit the stereotype perfectly, buddy."
Man,
didn't say anything.
I understand. Because in the end, we still got to live with these people. Why, I don't know, but we still got to live with them. Bless their hearts. And in case you folks in the North or the West or the Midwest are wondering, that's the version of bless your heart that means you so dumb.
And Jordan, yes, I agree. It is quite fashionable to crap on men, but not that I do it. I love men. As a gay woman, the majority of my friends happen to be men, and I love them. But there are some that need to be ridiculed, just like there are a lot of women that need to be ridiculed.
Indeed. I mean, ridicule is equal opportunity as far as the sexes are concerned, because, there are just some people, male or female, when they open their mouth, you realize they never should have. There you go. Oh, goodness.
I mean, I was raised on the men that I grew up with. My dad, who was a manly man, John Wayne. We watched John Wayne movies together. Roy Rogers, Andy Griffith. Those were the types of men that I grew up with, and so I want a man that acts like a man, not a man that acts like how he thinks a woman would act if she were a man.
So you are a fan of Rip from Yellowstone?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. I'm down there with you. Or Kevin Costner's John Dutton from that series. Just these are some.
J.R. Ewing, Bobby Ewing.
Yeah,
even though J.R. Ewing was crooked, he was still a man's man.
Yeah, I mean, basically, how do I describe it? They're dangerous, but only if provoked.
Mm-hmm.
These are not the kind of men you're just going to step on and do whatever you want over top of them.
Exactly. And my dad would give anybody the shirt off their back that needed it. But if you came at his family, he could go mean real quick.
Yeah, mine was the same way. His basic philosophy was, I'll do anything for you till you mess me over.
Mm-hmm.
And you do it once, and then the next thing out of my dad's mouth is, piss on you, I'm done. And when Dad got to that point, I'm like, nope, he ain't helping that guy anymore. Forget it. Yeah, quiet strength. That's a good way to describe it.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, very good way to describe it. And yes, let's hear it from Matt Dillon and Festus. I was always a Festus fan.
Yeah.
So now here's a bit of a flashback for you. Did you ever wonder, for those of you who went to, I'm going to hold off on this one. Because I can't think of how I want to do this without it coming across badly. But yeah. Adam, I got the submission, and I'll explain why later. All right. No, wait a second.
And,
Sorry about
Duke,
that.
I still say when somebody's limping, I say you're limping like Chester.
Yeah.
I didn't watch Gunsmoke as much as my dad did, but I do remember a lot of it.
Yeah. Now I think I know how I want to introduce this one. For those who have ever gone and gotten a shot of any kind, be it, let's just say, for example, the recent vaccine or any other shot that is supposed to help you, Usually there's a message that you're told by the person on the giving end of that shot, as opposed to you being on the receiving end of it. However, I think this example might even be just a little bit graphic, but it does make a valid point. Relax, you want to go back to work, don't you? So, although I don't know, mixing this picture and that message, you know. But yeah, there were messages like this to get people to go along with the jabby jabby. So, I've never watched Deliverance all the way through, but it's one of those like cultural touchstone movies.
You should sit down and watch it all the way through. It's a great film.
Yeah, very true. Now, this last one is it sort of leads us into our first topic of the morning, but there's a lot of discussion, and actually it's now been kicked around publicly that Trump is toying in his mind with the idea of eliminating the income tax.
Can't replace it with tariffs.
Yeah. And
I'm not sure that would work. And, I'm not sure about the complete switch back to mercantilism, but I think it's a good start. And I think with the elimination of the federal income tax, with the states probably still having their income tax and property taxes, I think it would work. I mean, there's still going to be a tax system. You're never going to get away from that. But I think eliminating the federal income tax is possible with the use of tariffs.
Oh,
and waste reduction. That is another huge thing.
True. Well, people have sort of wondered, what would the world look like if we eliminated the federal income tax? I mean, how would it ultimately impact the average American's life? Well, I think someone has, managed to capture the zeitgeist of what that moment might be like. So yeah, I mean, just imagine we could all be dressed up in outfits like this walking down the street.
A lot of people's lives would be a lot better off.
Yeah, I mean, there'd be a lot more pimp daddies walking down the concrete, man. I'm just saying.
Most people pay, the average middle class people pay about 20-25% of their income to the federal government.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Easily. And then you put everything else on top of that. About half your income goes for taxes.
Yeah, I mean, like, can you imagine if you didn't have to pay thousands of dollars every year in federal income taxes, what it would do toward making your life a little bit easier? Mm-hmm. You could pay off bills quicker, pay down debts faster,
Even make the cost of things go down.
Yeah, exactly. Which means that businesses would be more prosperous because, they wouldn't have to factor in the cost of the tax in their bottom line, and on and on and on. The ramifications off of that would be extraordinary.
That's the reason all of our industry has left this country. The only thing that is still here is the stuff that by law has to be here, like our food production. Everything else has been farmed out to other nations where the cost of doing business is cheaper.
Yeah.
We have to make it cheaper for them to do, and that is reducing taxes and cutting regulation. That is how we make, and charging tariffs on cheap foreign goods coming in, keeping them competitive with American goods, and people will buy American.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the last of our merry memes. And thank you to Adam and WWG1 and everybody else who's contributed to all that. It's kind of amazing how things evolve on a live stream. I've often said that I come out of the world of, trying to figure out how to do this. I come out of the world of talk radio, and it's amazing how an audience can impact how segments of a show happen. And now I'm getting people just flooding. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I'll look at every last one of them if I can. But I am getting flooded with, hey, have you seen this meme? Did you try this one? Have you looked at this one yet? And keep on bringing them. I think it's awesome. I really do. And Chris from the Morning Mayhem Productions is in the house on Rumble this morning. Good morning to you, sir.
Hey, Chris.
Glad to have you here. So that leads us to our first subject of the morning. It's been talked about. It's been rumored. It's been hinted at. People think it would be a good idea if it happened. Well, finally, last week it was announced that Donald Trump was going to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. Boom shakalaka is right. This is, I mean, we're in good. I was hoping you would show up. Ladies and gentlemen, please say hello to the unofficial bartender of the electronic front porch, Leanne Payne. Good morning, my love. Mwah. Bloody Marys are about to get served all around. God love you. People have been wondering what the impact of Donald Trump going on Joe Rogan would be. And
well, I know on YouTube it's already got 12 million views. It's only been out for 12 hours. I went on Spotify. I couldn't see the actual stream numbers on Spotify, but the comments are fire. I would say this has the potential to be his biggest podcast ever.
I tend to agree with you. Matter of fact, here's what I've got right now. 11, just a little under 12 million views, out for 13 hours. Okay. Absolutely insane. 900, almost a million likes, 16,000 dislikes. Okay. Which is fine. People have the right to their opinion about what they think of, of a YouTube broadcast.
I'll take those ratios anytime.
Yeah, absolutely. 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 But almost 12 million views in 13 hours. And Rogan realized the power of what this particular podcast could be, because real early last night, people started, throwing around accusations at YouTube saying, "Hey, they're throttling you. They're unlisting it."
It's because it is. It's not on the front page of YouTube. If you log in, it is not on the front page.
And Rogan, and I've got this here, and I'm not saying anyone's wrong in what they said or anything else, but Rogan realized how big this one was going to be. When word got to him about this, he went out to Twitter and I don't know how much Joe Rogan himself actually tweets, but he or somebody on his team went out and put up the following quote: "There is no issue with YouTube censoring the Trump episode. It was just supposed to go live on both Spotify and YouTube at the same time, and there was a glitch in Spotify's upload system, so we delisted the YouTube link until it's fixed. Should be fine now." Now, that was about 10:40 last night. But the fact that Rogan is actually going out and putting this out there, he realizes how much this one is going to be watched.
Yeah, I mean, it should be on trending. It may be now, but the last time I checked, it was not on trending on YouTube.
Yeah, and Tracy, feel free to chime in on this. I've got a feeling, beyond just what we're going to talk about this morning, this particular podcast is going to be analyzed for years to come. I was having a conversation with a buddy of mine who, my audience has heard me reference him on more than one occasion. My nickname for him is Smiling Jack. Mm-hmm. Smiling Jack and I were talking last night, and I said, "What was the name of the battle before Napoleon was exiled?"
Waterloo?
No, that was no. Before he was exiled to Elba, then escaped, and then Waterloo. And I had to go look it up. It was known as the Battle of Fontainebleau. Mm-hmm. It wasn't Napoleon's last battle, but it was the battle when he should have realized, "I'm done." That, to me, is what this podcast is going to represent, or maybe it's better to say should represent, to the media. Mm-hmm. Because, it's been coming for a while now. And we could sit here and list names of people, and you got names, I got names: Benny Johnson, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Steven Crowder, Tim Pool, Jimmy Dore, whoever. Mm-hmm. And people have been noticing that, there's a trend among us, a demographic trend, that younger people of a certain age, or maybe better say of a certain generation, are getting their news and information from sources other than traditional media. The three big networks, the two big newspapers.
I don't get my news from the networks, and I grew up on network news, and I don't get Generation X. Our generation was the first generation exposed to 24-hour news. CNN was built on the first Gulf War. That is what we got accustomed to. And I don't get my news from traditional news. I get it from independent media
Yeah,
or off of X, which is
yeah,
independent media.
and what happened last night, or yesterday afternoon, I should say, was two grown men sitting around being filmed having a conversation. But they weren't constrained by time necessarily, although Trump did go on to do something else later that day, which was a rally in Michigan late last night.
3 hours on. He did a rally or an appearance, a couple of appearances before Rogan. 3 hours with Rogan.
Yep.
Then 3 to 4 hours with Rogan. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Then flew to Michigan and did a rally. The man doesn't stop. He's the Energizer Bunny.
At 78 years old. And
Kamala has to take 3 days off.
And Kamala just turned 60.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just he's running her, pardon my language, he's running her happy ass right into the ground. Just outworking the woman. I mean, to the point, and I was going to say this for a little bit later, but it's relevant right now. Democrats are complaining. It's like, will you, to her campaign staff, will you tell her to get off her ass and start working? He's absolutely running circles around her. But you have two men sat down yesterday for 3 hours. They were not constrained by time. It's not like, oh, I've only got a 5-minute segment and I got to get the liberal perspective and the conservative perspective, and then I got to go to a commercial break and all that. No, you had two men sitting around for 3 hours, literally having a conversation about whatever the hell they want to talk about.
And did you love how Trump addressed a lot of things that people would attack him for even before? He talked about how, they talk about Kamala's word salad. He said, I get wordy. I weave things in, but I always bring it home. And Rogan says, yes, you always bring it home and you always answer the original question, even though you interweave a lot of other detail in there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, when I say they talked about whatever the hell hit their head, Rogan had a set of questions in his mind or maybe written out or whatever that he definitely wanted to talk to Trump about. And I think that's part, and not that I get to watch Rogan a lot, but that's part of the joy of watching a Joe Rogan podcast. Joe knows where he's going with it, but he doesn't make it like an interrogation. He doesn't make it like,
He will play devil's advocate, and he did that with Trump.
Yeah.
On environmental issues. He started what about the environment? And, Trump said, I love the environment. I want clean air. I want clean water. But I don't think we should stop, water being brought to dying farmland for the sake of a tiny little fish that doesn't impact anything.
That discussion that Trump had about, the California farmland area was just amazing. And some of the detail that Trump went into about what would most people would consider to be extraordinarily esoteric subjects. The discussion about the Lincoln bedroom, which led Trump into a discussion about, the psychological personalities of Abraham and Mary Todd Lincoln. And and I'm sitting there going, for anybody who says that Donald Trump is stupid or not well informed,
he knows history. Like
they have no idea what they're talking about with this guy.
Oh, he's so intelligent. He went to Penn. He went to Penn. Went to an Ivy League school. Yes, I'm sure his dad floated some money and got him in, but he still graduated, and it shows.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me, and we're describing all these things, and we've got some clips, folks. Don't worry, we're going to get to them here in a minute. But the reason that I'm setting it up this way, I'm trying to, and you, my audience, understand this better than anybody else. But for people who are going to watch this later, and you will, you just don't want to admit it yet. But that's all right. You will become members of the Electronic Front Porch. You will be a part of Fedora Nation. You just don't want to acknowledge it yet. But I'm saying all this to show people this is what the new media can do. It's not constrained by time. It's not constrained by anything other than I want to find out something about you.
Networks used to do that. Counterpoint on PBS was one of my favorite shows because they would sit down and just have a conversation, policy driven, but a conversation with a Democrat and a Republican. You got both sides, and that was great. But it was a conversation. They don't do that anymore. They only talk one side, and then they give you propaganda, not facts.
the original Crossfire on
Yeah.
CNN when it was hosted
Mhm.
by Robert Novak and Pat
Mhm.
Buchanan, for heaven's sake.
Mhm.
And just, on and on it goes. But now the new media can offer people information in a structure that is convenient to them. I mean, if you don't get to see the Joe Rogan podcast when it first goes up, you can watch it a day later, 2 days later. You can
You
listen
can
to it
listen
when you're
to it
riding
in the
your car.
car, yeah,
Yeah, traveling somewhere, or listen to it on an airplane or whatever.
or when you're
And
jogging or whatever.
information can get out to people in an unfiltered, unedited manner, and they're like, "Huh, I didn't know this about Trump." So with that, let's get to some of these clips, and I've got maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5
And
of them here.
it shocked me as a Trump fan. It shocked me that he knew as much as he did about environmental issues.
Yeah, and,
Because that's a subject I wish he would talk about more. I really
Mhm.
do, because I do care about the environment. That's a
Oh,
holdover for me being a lib. I want the environment, but he said it all. He talked about how we're killing industry and farms by doing stuff that's really inconsequential. He's talking about how it doesn't matter what we do because China's dumping all their garbage into the atmosphere, and until they clean it up, we can't do much. And he
yeah,
even went down to talking about how windmills are affecting the the inner ear of both people and whales. But you know
yeah,
what the left's going to pick up on that? He said he wanted to be a whale psychiatrist. That is all they're going to pick up on,
I
even though
know.
what he said was absolutely true, that the
Mhm.
vibrations do cause whales to go off course, and they do cause the destruction of a species that's already heading for endangerment. And there's been studies that show it also affects inner ears of people, and it raises mental, declines cognition, raises mental health issues. I mean, all these things are things that need to be looked at.
Yeah. And that leads us to our first clip, which to me is one of the funniest moments of this whole 3-hour exchange between Donald Trump and Joe Rogan. And Trump is in this moment, this clip, best way I can describe it, he's almost having a soliloquy with himself until Joe Rogan interrupts the soliloquy. And the question is, why do I get the attention that I do? So with that, ladies and gentlemen, as always, give us a sound check. Let me know you can hear it, and check this out from yesterday's publication of the Joe Rogan podcast with Donald Trump.
I said, "Oh man, Trump's going to go to war with us." He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East. They should have never done it. I used to say it as a civilian. So I always got more publicity than other people. And it wasn't like I was trying. In fact, I don't know exactly why. Maybe you can tell me why.
Oh, I could definitely tell you. You said a lot of wild shit.
Maybe.
I get all this press, but I have no idea why. I get all this
Because you say
attention.
wild shit.
Because you say wild shit. I busted a gut laughing last night when I heard I was sitting here at my computer, I'm trying to prep the show for this morning, and I've got it in the background. Then they got to that line, and I went, "What?" I turned and looked at the monitor, and I went, "What did you
And
just
Trump
say?"
agreed with him. I do say
Like,
a lot of wild shit.
yeah, I do say.
But Rogan does too, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a subject that Joe Rogan would not be willing to take on. That to me is fascinating. And the other thing about last night, God, they went all over the place
It
on
was a beautiful
subjects.
thing. It was a
Yeah.
beautiful thing. And it just felt like two friends talking.
Yeah, I mean, it just blew my mind. It's like there was really no subject they wouldn't take on. For 3 uninterrupted hours of a conversation that everybody can listen to, not listen to, take
Mhm.
parts of it you're interested in. This is the beauty of it. This is going to be the great contrast going forward. Now, and I bring this back to my life, and I'll get to the next clip. I still have my mother, who's still with me on this earth. She's 87 now. She'll be 88 on her birthday, and of a certain generation, she watches, Newsmax or Fox News or whatever. And that's how she gets information. And, I go to see her on a very regular basis because, yeah. And we're talking about, I said, "Mom, there's coming a day, probably in the next 15 to 20 years, the major 3 networks and the cable news networks, they might still be around, but they will not have the power that they once did. They just won't. And she said, well, why is that? I was like, well, Mom, at the risk of not trying to be cruel to you, it's just demographics. Their viewers are dying off. She's like, oh, thanks a lot, son. I was like, oh, I said I'm not trying to be cruel to you, but it's true.
It's the truth.
It's the truth. Their viewership is dying off,
It's
literally or
mainly
figuratively.
silent generation and the older boomers that watch cable. Even my mother-in-law, who is a
Yeah.
baby boomer, she's 63. She does not watch network news anymore. She watches whatever the NBC morning show is today because she likes Hoda, and Hoda's leaving that, so she probably won't watch it anymore. She watches that, but she doesn't get her news from them. She does that for the fluff pieces that they do because it's just pleasant to her in the morning. But she gets her news from, well, actually, she gets her news from me and my wife because we're the one that watch independent media, and we tell her what she wants to know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and my mom will call me and go, "Hey, I heard about this subject. What's going on?" I'm like, "Let me get into that." And you know, that's what's going to happen here. So to the next clip, and like I said, there wasn't really a subject they wouldn't talk about.
Mm-hmm.
This next one is an example of Trump's kind of sense of humor and what things intrigue him. And he tells the story in this clip of watching that booster rocket come down that Elon retrieved. Folks, you have got to see this because how Trump describes how he watched this was hysterical. Check this out.
Elon, and I'm talking to this very important guy. I say, wait a minute, I'm looking at something. The television's unmuted, right? And I see this rocket. It's all brown from the heat. You know, it's like 10,000 degrees pouring down at thousands of miles an hour. And I see this thing, you know, it's like a 20-story building.
And it catches
And
it.
I say to this guy, who's an important guy, wait a minute, let me just put you down. Hold it. I got to see this. And I see this, and it's going to crash. I say, it's going to crash into the gantry. They call it a gantry. I said, oh, man, that's going to be a disaster because it's starting to get very close. And then all of a sudden you see the flames and the bottom, and it boom. And then you see the two arms grab it.
Crazy.
And I forgot the guy. I had him on the phone. I forgot. No, I said, no. And I said, was that you? He said, that was me. And I said, who else can do that? He said, nobody. Russia can't do it. The United States, nobody can do it.
That is hysterical.
He just left whoever that important guy was on the phone.
Yeah, I was like, hang on a minute. Hang on.
It could have been Netanyahu. It could have been Putin. It could have, because you can't tell me Trump's not talking to world leaders behind the
Well,
scenes.
there is a rumor. Hang on a minute. Hold on a second. I got to close these curtains because.
And yes, I said Putin, and I'm not a Russian asset, but Trump can talk. Putin respects Trump, and he does have good. He can have good conversations with him, just like I'm sure he can with Zelensky too.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, folks. I know that all of you think I have an angelic glow every time I come on camera, but actually, the light from the window behind me was like totally.
We're in the middle of a rainstorm here, so I just lost all my natural light, so I have nothing but the lamp, and that's the reason I just went dark. So.
Yeah, but I mean, this was hysterical. Trump's like, "Hang on a minute, man. I got to watch this thing. This is just."
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, that thing's gonna hit the gantry. Was I on the phone with somebody? Oh, the hell with him. It's just hysterical. Absolutely hysterical.
And then a lot to talk about Space Force, that he's the first president in a long time that's put any emphasis on space exploration. He says they want to concentrate on getting us back to space in a competent way.
Yeah, I mean, literally, for 3 hours, these guys are talking about anything. They get into the subject of Trump's ear from where he got shot. Folks, just enjoy it.
I was.
He was a nice
once
guy.
They shot you, I was like, he's got to come in here. It's all about timing. It's all about the timing.
See, Rogan knew he was going to have Trump on.
It was just
He's
a matter
known
of when.
for a long time he was going to have Trump on.
Just a matter of when.
When do you do
10
it?
days before the election could not have been more perfect for Trump.
Absolutely. All right, back to this clip.
I think our timing's perfect. Do you even have a scar on your ear? You got anything on there?
I do.
What do we say? What do you got
So,
there?
right over here.
Oh, it's a tiny little mark.
It zicked right there.
Yeah. It healed up pretty fucking good.
Well, it's pretty good. Yeah, it's little. It's not like some of the wrestlers, some of the UFC fighters.
No, you didn't get cauliflower.
No. It was sort of like a top shot.
Mm-hmm.
The point of the bullet was a little of the ass, but you see the thing's taken off a little bit. But it makes me a tougher guy. You know, the fighters.
I mean, I mean, some people would call this a gonzo conversation. I don't.
Mm.
I don't. This is just two men sitting around shooting the breeze. And they literally they touch on just about anything. I've got a clip here, and this next one is the backstory of how that appearance at McDonald's came to be. And folks, I will tell you up front, I have not heard this one yet myself. I pulled it up and I was like,
And that was so brilliant. That was part troll at Kamala, which was beautiful. It was also part PR stunt, and it was part letting people know I understand the struggles of the working class.
yeah. And Chris from the Morning Mayhem channel over on Rumble says, that's a genuine conversation right there. That's what people appreciate. That's why the Kamala campaign is trying to so hard to come across as relatable and authentic, which she's not. Chris, you're absolutely right.
We've gotten max an hour with her that was heavily edited, and once you edit it down, there's nothing there, and it's word salad. And come to find out that CNN town hall, most of those people were pre-vetted to even get in there. It wasn't the common. I know you have to vet them for security. I get that.
Yeah,
but a lot of them were Democratic activists, Democratic Party members that were not going to throw her any hardball questions at all.
And I was watching just a little bit of it this morning. Mark Halperin has, which by the way, folks, Mark Halperin has a great show called Two Way, and he does it on YouTube for sure. But I mean, Halperin is one of those cats that's just plugged in like nothing else. He's ridiculously connected, and he was talking with various Democrat sources who were like, "Man, after that CNN town hall, we're done. We're just done." It's like she can't talk. We're, I mean, again, 10 days to go, anything can happen. But Democrats are just washing their hands of her. They're like, she can't. She hasn't got it.
Can I say something controversial?
Go ahead.
If Kamala and Biden, I equate them because they're the same individual.
Right.
It's the machine. If the machine were running this country the way they should be running it, for the good of the people, not getting us into World War III, not causing cost of living to spiral out of control, not flooding our border with illegals, and then and not doing something about the falling birth rates, because we need to encourage families, because we're going to lose the West in 100 years if we don't, just because there'll be none of us left.
Exactly.
If they were doing all of these things that were the best for the American people, I wouldn't have a problem voting for Kamala, because I'm sure if you got her one-on-one, she's probably a lovely person. She's just not good in front of a camera.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think she's a cackling idiot, but cackling idiots can be nice people.
Yeah, they can. You just don't want them running your government.
But I don't want her running my government. She's not I do want to see a woman president, but she's not the one. This is not the way. This is not the way.
Well, and this goes back to a discussion that I had with John Cass, who was a former op-ed writer for the Chicago Tribune, and I had him on my channel. He was very gracious to come on. Toward the end of that interview, I dropped some names from back in the 1990s of Democrat politicians in Chicago and Cook County in particular. And I said, the funny thing is, when these guys held their respective offices, all right, you had some problems in Chicago, like every major metropolitan city, but you didn't feel unsafe. You felt like your garbage was going to get picked up. The cops were going to come if you called. Crime wasn't rampant. Taxes were low. Businesses
Chicago
were
was
good.
mob controlled at the time.
Yeah, and Chicago was mob controlled, even into the 90s, etc. And I don't necessarily. I mean, Trump has even said, if the country were running good, I would stay down at Mar-a-Lago, mind my own business, and live my life. I got a fabulous life.
Anna Kaspirin, you know how I love Anna Kaspirin.
Yeah.
But and she's been coming around, but she tweeted like one clip from that about where he was talking about how he had to grease the palms of people to get stuff done. I'm like,
to do him a favor.
And he was like, and she was like, so at least he's honest about being corrupt. And I'm just like, do you really think government and big business, the thing that moves this country, is done in a 100% honest way? He's being honest, and that's what people want. I don't care whose palm he greases if this country moves forward. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And let me acknowledge this before it slips away from it. Jardam from the British Isles with 2 British pounds. Thank you very much, sir. I love getting currency from other nations. It tickles my soul for a number of reasons. Have you seen that video where Trump was working at his own hotel? Yes, I have. And that was back in what, the late 80s, early 90s, somewhere in there. And yeah, he was doing all the day-to-day functions of some of the people, employees, literally taking dinner to someone's room, walking someone's dog, greeting people at the door. And he took the role seriously. And in that same vein, we've now got the story up and we're about to pull it. How did the whole McDonald's thing come about? So with that, folks, I'm dying to hear this one. Check it out.
Yes.
Little thing. So I did McDonald's last week.
I saw that.
And I actually got a call from your friends at Google, from Sundar. That's pretty good, right? He said, this is the biggest thing we've had in years.
At McDonald's?
At McDonald's. Did you know that? It was one of the...
It was funny.
Who's a great guy, by the way. But he said, this McDonald's thing, I want to tell you, it's one of the biggest things we've ever had on Google. It just hit. But the reason I did it, and I actually, you never know about this stuff. I thought it was a throwaway.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think our conversation was a throwaway, but I thought I'd walk in, and that was only to highlight the fact. And I have a friend, he owns like 56 of these McDonald's, and he said, you want to use one? I said, yeah, I love it. So we went there, and the crowd was crazy. They had 28,000 people around the whole thing. Did you see the outside? It was crazy. The cars couldn't get through. Secret Service was not exactly thrilled. We had no idea what that. But I went into the place, and I did the French fry thing, and it just hit. But that's like in life. Sometimes you do. I thought it was like a quick throwaway. We're going to be there for 15 minutes. Then I said, I've worked here for 15 minutes, which is 15 minutes more than she worked here. She lied about McDonald's. And
is that proven that she never worked at McDonald's?
McDonald's has no information. No, she has no information. There's nobody. The manager said she never worked there. It was a certain place, and he said they never. No, she lied.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a throwaway thing. I got a call from the guy at Google. Do you know this is the biggest freaking thing we've got going right now?
And that made me think, the fact that he's getting a call from the CEO of Google, that made me think that from what Elon Musk has been saying, that he's having private telephone conversations with his friends in Silicon Valley that are secretly voting Trump. I believe the CEO of Google is on that list.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think,
but I wish he'd fix the algorithm honestly though, if you do Google certain things, you do get things now like the New York Post. You get more right-leaning when you Google. I don't think it's Google's fault necessarily anymore. Not that I think they're 100% clean on it, but I don't think it's necessarily their algorithm's fault anymore. I think it's the news media that won't print anything that's not negative about Trump, because they can only look for keywords. And if the keywords aren't there, they can't pull it up.
Oh, absolutely.
So I think Google has become a little more fair. And I've even noticed here on YouTube, there are some things that can still get you shadow banned, but for the most part, they are starting to allow a bit more free speech.
Well, and I think there's also a certain amount of self-preservation in that.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine the fright that must go through certain people in Silicon Valley at the thought of an unrestrained Trump for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Section 240 reform, maybe busting up, using the antitrust laws to break up Google, which, by the way, that's actually afoot right now vis-a-vis the Biden administration. They're trying to do it now. So maybe there's a certain, again, who knows?
There's a certain, and with media outlets, liberals are big mad at the Washington Post and the LA Times. I'm seeing them videoing them. The press is starting to turn, and I think, like you, it's self-preservation. I think they see the writing on the wall that it's going to be a Trump administration.
Yep.
And they don't want to be a target. And not that I think Trump would do that. Trump is not going to go. He's already said he doesn't have time to do that. He's got to work on the country.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one of the things that's been fascinating, and people have been talking about it, is why is Trump going on Joe Rogan? Why is he going on with Theo Vaughn? Why is he going on with Aiden?
Reaching young people and men.
Yeah. Yeah. Why is he going on with, cripes. I can see it.
I can't think of his name.
No.
Just recently, Dave Walker, isn't he the one that just came out and endorsed him?
No, there's somebody else. Lex Friedman. Why is he going on with Lex Friedman? Why is he going on with Tim Pool? I have said before, and I'll say it again, and you
He
guys
hasn't
out
been on
there,
IRL, but he did sit down with Tim Pool for about
he
30
did
minutes
sit
at the
down with Tim Pool. Yeah. Yeah.
Libertarian convention.
Yeah. And, everybody's been talking about, why is he doing all this? Or maybe the better question is, how is he realizing he ought to do this? Well, if Trump goes on to win in November, yeah, and Jardam, you're already a half a step ahead of me. You know exactly where I'm going.
Barron is running his media campaign right now.
When the history of this campaign is over with, win or lose, the role that Barron Trump played as a secret weapon on behalf of his father will shock people. Not us, but some people it will shock.
Because Barron is, okay, I love that the gays are switching for Trump at a high thing. I love that the African-American vote is swinging our way. I love that I love that all Americans are swinging our way. But there is that disenfranchised male voter, young male, Gen Z, of all races, creeds, that listen to Joe Rogan, that listen to Theo Vaughn, that listen to Lex Friedman, that listen to Tim Pool. And he's reaching for those voters because they, unlike anything else, can swing this election.
Yep, absolutely. And with that leads into a discussion of Trump that Trump had with Rogan about his tall drink of water son by the name of Barron. Folks, enjoy this clip.
So I have a son who's very smart and tall, Barron, right? And he knows all about you. He knows about guys I never heard of. He said, Dad, you don't know how big they are. They're big. He told me how big. I said, who the hell is he? Like Ross. I did. He said, Dad, he's a great guy. I mean, guys that are doing, it's a whole new world out there.
It's a different world.
And I got to stop this for a second because I just want to comment on one thing. I could see this conversation happening. Hey, Dad, have you ever thought about going on Lex Friedman's podcast? Who the hell is Lex Friedman? I mean,
yeah.
But Trump is smart enough to realize, okay, I got a college age son who knows these cats. Maybe I better listen to him.
I can hear him when his people told him, hey, Tim Pool wants to sit down with you for a few minutes at the Liberty. He go, who's this dude in a beanie? Why should I,
Exactly.
And his son Barron is probably saying, Tim Pool is a huge media network. You need to go sit down with him.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and again, there is the contrast is already there. You have legacy dinosaur media, and you've got new media, if I may use that term. And Trump and I'm not trying to over romanticize it or anything else. I'm just trying to be perfectly honest. I think Trump is bridging the gap to the transition. In other words, we're going to get to the point that new media is going to be the media. Okay. We're not there yet, but we're getting closer. I could make a pretty good argument. The fact that a major presidential candidate, and particularly the fact that it's Donald Trump, went on the biggest podcaster in the world's show for 3 hours, unscripted, unrehearsed, unedited, talking about whatever hit their brains, that's going to speed up the transition. And cultural Washington, political culture, is going to realize, hey, man, if we're going to have any relevance, we got to start really sitting down.
That's the difference between Trump is reaching people that may not necessarily be on his side. I mean, he sent Laura Trump onto the Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
He sent Laura Trump, and she held her own there. She did a great job. They're going into places where they may not necessarily be his friends. And they're talking about, why don't you go on more female-led podcasts? Well, who's he going to go on? I mean, Candace Owens is already on the Trump train. These are already his people. Megyn Kelly, already his people. There's very few female-led podcasts out there that are not going to be absolutely hateful to him and, do everything they can to trip. Why would he walk into a hornet's nest? Of the female podcasts out there, I would say if he could go on Jillian Michaels, he would reach a lot of wine moms that way. And I wish he would. That would be fair to him. Yeah. But other than that, they're all so anti him. Why would he walk into that trap? He's not going to go on The View or anything like that, because they're just going to be nasty to him and it's going to get his temper up. Whereas Kamala, he's going to reach people he can't reach before. He wouldn't be able to reach. Kamala, she is staying in her wheelhouse. She's not reaching out to the average. She's staying with legacy media. She's going on feminist podcasts. I think she's going to be on Shannon, the former NFL players podcast. Shannon, I can't think of his last name. Going to be on his podcast. But again, that is still people that are going to probably vote for her anyway. She's not reaching outside that box. She's not challenging because she can't. She's running on nothing but I'm black. And she's not black. She's Jamaican and she's Indian. She's not an American black. She has no idea what African Americans in this country go through any more than I do.
And the part that cracks me up is reporters from NBC, MSNBC, CNN get shocked when they go into, you know, an African American community and they say, "What do you think of Kamala? She ain't black." And this white yuppie, if I may use, this shows you how old I am. White yuppie reporter gets the shock of their life. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you mean she's not black? She's black. No, she's not. She ain't black.
Well, people were like, you know, when Anderson Cooper was pushing back on her hard at CNN, I think he was just finally being an actual journalist, the one that I know he can be and used to be. Yeah. Pushing back on her. And people are like, "Oh, Anderson Cooper didn't kill himself." You know, they're all, you know, and somebody tweeted out, "He's a Vanderbilt. No, he's not going anywhere." But yeah, he's an establishment guy. He's a trust fund guy. And even he was pushing back on her.
Exactly. So with that, we'll go ahead and finish the clip, folks. Enjoy.
And but, you know, I'm on TikTok now.
Congratulations.
And I've done really well. No, but you know, have you seen the numbers? Billions of hits. It's crazy.
I'm sure TikTok's a wild application.
And I've gone up 30 points. A Republican is always down 30 with young people. I'm plus 30. And I'm on TikTok.
I think
it's had a huge impact.
Young people are rejecting a lot of this woke bullshit. Young people are tired of being yelled at and scolded. They're tired of these people that they think are mentally ill telling them what the moral standards of society should be today. And people are upset.
There's a big difference now, but
hang on.
Even in just a couple of years, I was shaking hands with people. They're young people.
The rebels are Republicans now. They're like, you want to be a rebel? You want to be punk rock? You want to buck the system? You're a conservative now.
Okay, now hang on to that thought because we're going to come back to that. I've got another clip similar to that one. And Rogan makes a very valid point about what it is now to be the cultural rebel. And
counterculture is conservative now.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to watch. Now, lest you think that they were just bouncing around gonzo style, Rogan asks him, you know, a very legitimate question, which a lot of people have been wanting to ask of Trump. And this is probably the most, he's answered this before, but this is probably the most vulnerable and revelatory in way that I've seen him answer this. It's the question of, what did you get wrong in your first term? And Trump gives it's an answer that all of us knew, but none of us ever thought Trump would ever admit it. Okay.
And it takes a big man to admit it.
And it takes a big man to admit this. So ladies and gentlemen, check this one out.
The biggest mistake I made was I picked some great people, you know, but you don't think about that. I picked some people that I shouldn't have picked. I picked a few people that I shouldn't have picked. And
neocons?
Yeah, neocons or bad people or disloyal people or
people that were just
people bad. That were into the
people bad advice.
Yeah, I mean, look, you're reading about them a little bit today. A guy like Kelly, who is a bully, but a weak person. You know more about bullies than anybody probably around because you deal in a certain sport where the bullies are exposed very quickly.
Yeah.
But he's bad. Bolton was an idiot, but he was great for me because I'd go in with a guy like a John Bolton. John Bolton. A friend of mine called me up. I was picking Bolton. And he's a very smart guy. His name is Phil Ruffin. He's a very rich guy from Las Vegas. He's a great card player. He doesn't play cards, but he's a great player. He's just a natural. Got poker sense, right? The good old poker sense. And Phil Ruffin is is a very, very wise kind of a guy, and one of the richest people around, and has had great success and understands people. So it was in that I was picking Bolton, or I picked Bolton. He called up. He said, "Don't pick him. Why? He's a bad guy." Now he wasn't in politics at all. He's in various businesses. He said, "He's a bad guy. It always works out bad with that guy." I said, "Oh man, I wish you told me this 2 weeks ago. I already hired him. He's here." And he was right, but he was good in a certain way. He's a nut job. And every time I had to deal with a country, when they saw this whack job standing behind me, they said, "Oh man, Trump's going to go to war with us." He was with Bush when they went stupidly into the Middle East.
I love the fact that he's able to say, "I hired badly."
Yeah.
Or I took bad suggestions, because he admitted it up front. I'm not a politician. I'm a businessman. Yep. And so I needed people that had been in politics before to guide me through this jungle that is politics. And I ended up hiring some bad people. And now he's got a good staff. I think what will be a good administration in place, and things will roll. And he said that we had things ready to roll, and then COVID, and we had to divert money that we were going to use to pay down the debt to keep businesses afloat during COVID. And we were hoping for the second term to be able to really take the training wheels off. And I think if he gets this second term, we're going to see so much good stuff.
Yeah, agreed. And there are two criticisms that friends of mine and mutual friends, Tracy, I mean, for example, Mike Harlow and others have had of Trump, particularly before the campaign for the second term started this time around. He hires bad people, and he won't admit he made a mistake with the pharmaceutical companies and the vaccine. That's the two biggest things I've heard criticisms of Trump. And he just admitted to one of them, and the other one he's kind of admitting to, but you got to read between the lines on it. And I'm not trying to give Trump any cover that he doesn't deserve, but yeah,
I don't blame him for trying to get a vaccine out as quickly as possible. He took the regulations off so they could do it. He was listening to who he thought was a competent doctor in Fauci. I don't blame him for that. Any president would be stupid not to do that. But what killed it was in Biden's term, the mandates. They've messed it up by mandating that it get done, and then we're trying to roll it out to children. That's the mistake. That wasn't Trump's mistake. That's Biden's mistake. What are you going to do? Have your people unvaccinated? Of course he was going to go for hard spin a vaccine. You have to. There's no way around it, but you don't mandate people to get it, which is what Biden did.
And when Trump started seeing the reports about the negative side effects that came along with the jabby, he's like, yeah, the vaccine was the best thing we ever did. And everybody's looking at Trump going, brother, we love you, but again, he's kind of coming to acknowledge what he did again. Read between the lines. Yeah, exactly. He kind of admitted it, but in a rather roundabout way. So,
but what would it look like if you have these medical experts coming to you? And vaccines have been a net positive. There's a lot of bad things about them, sure. But overall, it has been a net positive. There are certain diseases that don't exist anymore because of vaccines. You have to admit that, even though in some people, they have caused things like autism and stuff like that. But we've also broadened our definition of autism too. You have to remember that too. So yes, that is bad. And the way that they're pushed on us that it's a pharmaceutical solution to everything that just diet and exercise could do, and the chemicals have made our way into the food. All of that is bad. But if you're a sitting president and you've got a brand new virus, this is a worldwide pandemic, never before being seen, and you're offered if you take the regulations off, we can get a vaccine out that will save people's lives. What kind of person are you going to be or look like if you say no? We're not going to do a vaccine.
Exactly.
Put yourself in his spot. I would have done it. You would have done it.
Yeah, agreed. Now, this next clip for me is I find it personally funny. You guys know how much I obsess over polls. I mean, I try to look at them. I try to read them. I try to understand them as best I can. if for no other reason to pick up trends. Well, Trump has an opinion about pollsters. And then I've got a reaction after this from a couple of pollsters who saw the clip. And it's actually, their reaction to it is downright funny. So, folks, with that in mind, what Donald Trump really thinks about pollsters and polling. Enjoy. Here you go.
If I did, I wouldn't answer. I'm busy.
You know how polls are done? I'm going to get myself in trouble. But so I really don't believe too much in them. So,
well, 2016 taught a lot of people about the ineffective.
Well, they were very ineffective because I thought I was doing well. I'd go to a place and I'd have 30, 40,000 people. Hillary would go, they have 500 people, and they tell me I'm going to lose. I said, why am I going to lose? I had 40,000 people. She had 200 people. But, you know, I have a theory. These pollsters, they charge you a lot of money, too. You know, they charge you $500,000 to do some stupid poll, and they interview like 251 people. I don't think they interview in many cases. I don't want to get myself in too much trouble.
You think it's bullshit?
No, I think they sit there, they make a deal, they get $500,000, and they say, Trump's leading 51-49. They announce it, and everybody says, oh. Do you understand? I don't think they, I think in a lot, look, I'm a very common sense person. I think that they probably don't always poll. Some of them probably never poll. What's the difference between 49-51 and 47.5?
Well, it's also a tiny percentage of the population. I don't think it's representative of the overall population. I just don't think
I don't know of one person in my whole life that ever got called by a pollster.
Exactly. That's my point. So
now, Tracy, I have heard you say this, and for the benefit of anybody watching, have you ever been called for a poll?
Have not. And I've been both a registered Democrat and a registered Republican now. And I have never been called by a pollster in my life. I get the fundraising texts all the time from both parties, but I never ever have been called by a pollster. And I like what he has to say. And probably a lot of them don't call anybody. They get a bunch of money and they just put out some bogus numbers. And there are pollsters out there that I think do a good job. And I think, as I recall, Trump mentioned Rasmussen, that he thought Rasmussen was a legitimate pollster that did his job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, yeah.
And funny you should say that, because the two pollsters who reacted to this comment last night, one of them is Mark Mitchell of Rasmussen, and the other one is one of my favorites, Rich Barris from the People's Pundit.
Can I react to Up in Connecticut's comment there about
sure. Go ahead.
And I 100% believe that Up in Connecticut, but you're also in Connecticut, which is a heavily left-leaning state, in which that just kind of solidifies my opinion that a lot of these polls that are left-leaning only call leftists. They only call in states that they know 90% of the time they're going to get the answer they want.
Yeah. Now, here's the reaction that I thought was hysterical, where Mark Mitchell says, oh, man, as a pollster, Trump cut me deep tonight. And then Barris chimes in and says, yeah, he trashed all of us. He said, but frankly, we deserved it. Not all of us, but many of us absolutely deserved it. And the part that makes this funny is Rich Barris, and for no other reason, to try to get the members of his profession to perform better. He has been one of the biggest critics of the polling industry, and he's a pollster. You know, he's trying to get his industry to understand, guys, if you don't get more accurate, if you don't produce results that more genuinely reflect what's going to happen, our industry's dead. No one's going to believe us.
Right. And the thing of it is, okay, there's a few pollsters out there I trust. I trust Rasmussen. I trust the People's Pundit. And I trust Valuetainment's new pollster system. I trust them. And because they come from insurance business, they know numbers, they know aggregates, and he's not as well known. But Red Eagle Politics, when he does a poll on his own and doesn't just translate other people's polls, I trust his results when he does a poll. I think he's done 2 during the election season. I like him. I wish he could get the funding to do more.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I want to respond to this. I am not surprised the Democrats are pouring money into down ballot races in Connecticut, because there's some weird results going on around the country right now that if it were not for the institutional ingrained advantage the Democrats have in certain states, the natural wave just might sweep some of these states over. So
And
I'm not surprised by that
what
at all.
Adam says about Tulsi becoming an official part of the Republican Party, when she made that speech at that rally, if you looked at Trump when she made that announcement, he didn't know it because his mouth went.
Exactly.
He did not know it. He was shocked. He was shocked.
And here's another point. Polled since '88. Yeah, I agree. And Jardin, thank you again from across the water. Do you encounter polarization in your day-to-day? It depends. For me, it depends upon whether the subject of politics gets brought up. It really does. I was at a neighborhood social function recently, and there was a lady there wearing a Harris Walls button. And I thought to myself, okay, Brian, just mind your P's and Q's. Don't get silly here.
Smile and walk away.
Have pleasant conversation with the lady. But, if she brings it up, it's on. If, on the other hand, you're not starting it. So it just depends on the situation and the context. So, Tracy, what about you? Do you ever run into this?
Sometimes, but mostly I'm lucky enough that I'm a hermit because I'm able to do my work from home and this from home. And I live in Hard Red, Tennessee. So no, not a whole lot in my day-to-day life. But I do work for an international company, one of my clients, and they are Canadian, and they tend to lead a little bit to the left. So I have gotten some poking from a couple of my Canadian friends, but I've also not torn their heads off, but torn them a new butthole with facts, and they generally leave me alone.
Yep. All right, 2 more clips, folks. And Rogan, at the tail end of one of these, Rogan touched on something that I wanted to play more of the full clip. And that is, what does it mean to be a rebel in the 21st century in America? And Rogan hits on something that I think people generally are starting to recognize, at least in the middle and on the right. The left does not understand this concept yet, but it needs to be fleshed out, because to get an idea of where we are, who is in the, how do I want to put this? Who is in the accepted culture versus the counterculture? It's changed. It's totally flipped. And with that sets up, what does it mean to be a rebel in the 21st century? Here you go.
The rebels are Republicans now. They're like, you want to be a rebel, you want to be punk rock, you want to buck the system, you're a conservative now. That's how crazy. And then the liberals are now pro silencing criticism. They're pro censorship online. They're talking about regulating free speech and that regulating the First Amendment. It's bananas to watch.
Joe, they come after their political opponent.
Well, they do.
Got more guys. I always say, I kid, but I'm not kidding. I've been investigated more than Alphonse Capone. He was the meanest of them all. He'd kill you in 2 seconds if he didn't like you, right? I've been under investigation more than Alphonse Capone, only because it's political opponent stuff. And I've won. I won the big case in Florida. I'm winning the other stuff. You win. But you know what they did? They did something that's only done in third world countries. They came after their political opponent.
Yes.
I could have put crooked Hillary in jail.
Well, not only that, but they're weaponizing it by saying that that's what you're going to do once you get in office.
Isn't it great?
By ignoring what they're doing right now.
Rogan absolutely nails something here. To be in the counterculture in America in the 21st century, you have to be a conservative. I mean, I've heard Vivek Ramaswamy make this same comment in a different form. You want to be a rebel these days? Get married, have kids, buy a house, vote Republican.
Cherie Curry from the Runaways is endorsing Trump. There was never a more rebellious punk band than the Runaways in the 60s and 70s. All female punk band. Come on.
Yeah, Joan Jett, Lita Ford, Cherie Curry. That was probably one of the best bands coming or going. And legendary musicians, all of them, right down to the last person. But yeah, that's what it is. And it's kind of amazing how the script has flipped. One last clip, and, never let it be said that Trump is not always working the vote. He is always working an angle in this campaign to try to get somebody to vote for him. And he's even going to work on Joe Rogan in this one. Folks, get ready for a good chuckle because here it comes.
But you know Elon Musk, yes. He endorsed me. By the way, he gave me the nicest endorsement too. The tough. He said the country's going to fail. You should do the same thing, Joe, because you cannot be voting for Kamala. Kamala, you're not a Kamala person. I know you. I've watched you. I know him better than he is. You know what? Without speaking to you, I think I know you maybe almost as well as your wife. I have watched you for so many years. You're not a Kamala person. You're a Khabib person, but you're not a Kamala person. No, nobody's going to know who Khabib is, but
they know who
he
Khabib
was.
is.
He was not bad, right? That guy.
Oh, he was phenomenal.
But that's your kind of
your
person.
weave is getting wide. We're getting wide with this weave.
But isn't it
I want to bring
better?
it back to tariffs.
But wait one second.
Yeah, you know.
Rogan is voting Trump.
Yeah, he is. You're not a Kamala person.
I understand why he doesn't come out with an official. I wish he would, but I understand why he doesn't come out with an official endorsement. You know, he's about being neutral and hearing both sides of the story. I get it. He doesn't want to be called a right-wing podcast, even though they already call him that. But you know.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. Well, I'll tell you what, folks. We've reached sort of a natural. I can't believe it's high noon. Good grief. We have reached sort of a natural transition point to our next topic. So I'll tell you what. Tracy, where can people find you on social media? Tell them about your channel. What can they do to help your efforts? Let's do a real quick commercial here. Go ahead.
You can find me at Gen X Marks the Spot here on YouTube, where I do true crime, horror movies, and Gen X nostalgia, as well as a little bit of politics. You can find me there. You can also find me on Twitter at Gen X Marks. And I'm still on Rumble, but I'm not rebranded on Rumble, so I won't give that out just yet.
Alrighty then.
Anybody that would like to come over there, you know, I'd love to have you. If you like history and true crime, and you know, if you're a Gen Xer that likes to talk about things that how it was when we were kids, I would love to have you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And my name is Brian Trippett. I am the Front Porch Conservative. You can find me on Rumble. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. Please subscribe to my channel. Check your subscriptions on YouTube, because YouTube likes to poach my people every now and then. So we don't want anybody poached. We want eggs to be poached, not people. Okay.
If you haven't subscribed to this man, please do, because he's so close to monetization.
Yep.
So close to getting the 50 cents a month that us small creators get, but I still want him to have that 50 cents a month.
Exactly, man. That might be the difference between me and a donut, you know.
Us micro creators like us, less than 20,000 subscribers, we literally do it because we want to do it and we enjoy to do it, because you have to have, first of all, you have to have $100 to actually get paid on YouTube. And now, since COVID and all that, the advertising rates have dropped. I get a deposit once every 2 to 3 months if I'm lucky. So that shows you how little we make over here on ad revenue. So we do it because we love it. So please support us.
And I tell you what, before we switch over to our next topic, and it gives me a few more seconds to set up my clips, Miss Up in Connecticut has a question for you, Tracy. Do you think the Menendez brothers will be set free?
Probably. I can't say that I'm in favor of that, but probably. Yeah. I don't know if I fully believe their story, but I do. It's definitely was premeditated. Definitely premeditated, which does technically make it murder one. So, but so I'm not sure I believe their story about it was, self-defense and absentia. But I think with all of the work of the Innocence Project and Hollywood to drag up old cases and have been very successful to get people that are obviously guilty out of jail, like Central Park 5.
Yeah.
I think, yes, the Menendez brothers will soon be walking out of prison.
And here's another one for you, dear. Did you see?
I have not. I did see the Leilani Simon verdict, and I'm so glad she got found guilty of murdering a baby that was less than 18 months old and throwing him in a dumpster. The Quentin Simon case. So, but I have not seen the Sarah Boone verdict yet. I haven't followed that case as closely as I should. I've followed the Daybell case. I've been following the Menendez brothers rebirth. I followed the Quentin Simon case, but I've not been following that one as closely as I should.
Okay. And a super sticker from Miss Patty. Thank you very much. It's very kind of you. I appreciate that. Very much appreciated. All right. So the devil went down to Georgia, and then she made a U-turn to Texas. That's right, folks. Kamala Harris decided to go into the Lone Star State on Friday. Now, this is... I don't know who's running her campaign. And when I say who's running it, I know the names of certain players, but the day-to-day decision-making in this campaign, especially last week, makes no sense. None.
They were hoping that their October surprise of calling Trump Hitler and having somebody else come out and say that he touched them in a bad place would do it. I think that's what they were prepping for that. And I think they really thought that would have an impact. But both of those stories died on the vine within hours.
Exactly.
It did not. I agree with what Steve Turley said. Things are not going the way they anticipated them going.
Ooh,
and I like Stephen Turley. I know he gets a lot of flack, but I like him.
Yeah, another member of the new media. If you know,
and Mark Dice is another one. He gets out there. I don't agree with Mark Dice on a lot of stuff, but he does make some sense on other stuff. So
yeah, exactly. So Kamala decides to go to Texas. She has one campaign event a day, as opposed to Donald Trump, who's doing 2 or 3 different things every day. Democrats are bitching about, the lack of a real campaign schedule. No one can quite figure out what the hell's going on. But she decides to go to Texas. And I said the other day, what the hell are you doing in Texas with 11 days to go?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like, why did Trump go to California? He's going after the popular vote.
Yeah, he's going. Yeah, you can understand the logic of a Donald Trump going to California because you're trying to go for the popular vote. What she's doing in Texas, no one has any idea. The closest she might get on election day is within maybe 6 points of Donald Trump.
And I think she's trying to hopefully maybe somehow push Allred over the line over Cruz, but I don't think that's happening. She only has support in the big cities of Texas. And that's about half.
Yeah, and that's not going to do it.
No.
But to give you an idea of the energy or perhaps the lack thereof, and when this man came out on stage for her last night, it almost broke my heart because I love him. Uncle Willie has been campaigning for Kamala. And folks, we have a clip of Willie Nelson, his appearance. And again, I don't begrudge him doing it.
No, Willie is an old school liberal. I used to agree with Willie. Yeah. I used to be that kind of old school liberal, but the party has left him, and I don't even think he realizes it.
I don't think he does either. So with that, we got a little 20-second clip of Willie playing some music. Check it out.
And diamonds and gold, long star belt buckles, old faded Levi's, and each night begins a new day.
Oh, Willie, bless your heart, son. I got to stop that one.
He ought to have a new song. Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be Democrats.
Well, in his case, he ought to change to Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to get transitioned.
Mm-hmm.
Which wouldn't be too far from the truth. I'm just saying. Well, Kamala also had another big name star. She had Beyonce. Woo! Well,
that doesn't surprise anybody.
No, I know. But here's a clip of Beyonce.
They're trotting out the people that are on the Diddy tapes.
Yeah, and probably blackmailing them to do it. Here is Beyonce.
A world where we have the freedom to control our bodies. A world where we're not divided. Our past, our present, our future merge to meet us here. Imagine our daughters growing up seeing what's possible with no ceilings, no limitations.
You got that now.
Imagine our grandmothers. Imagine what they feel right now. Those who have lived to see this historic day. Even those who are no longer physically with us. Imagine all of their sacrifice. The sacrifices made so we can witness the strength.
Okay, Tracy, is it just me or is it? I mean, Beyonce is probably one of the most talented performers of her era. That was read with no passion, no joy, no happiness. I mean, obviously she's
That was
reading
a
from a teleprompter.
script.
It was a
There
script.
was a script.
Yeah.
Okay. As a woman, I'm going
Lay
to
it on
speak
me.
as a woman. I don't care about abortion. Killing babies is not at the top of what I'm concerned about. And I'm sorry, I'll lower my voice.
Go right ahead.
I don't care. A lot of women don't care about abortion. It's not prime time. Abortion is not illegal. There are many states, the majority of the states in this country, where you can still get one up to the will of the people in those states where it should have been.
Yep.
You can still get one. You can still purchase birth control, as far as I know. You can still order the day after pill, mail order, as far as I know. And you can still be anything you want to be in this country as a female, including a man, according to the left. So what the hell are you talking about, Beyonce?
Yeah.
And don't use my grandmother. My grandmother would be horrified.
Yeah, and people are saying that on both sides of the chat. And I want to say hello to somebody. Hello, Connect 22. Well, hello, Connect. I don't trust her or Jay-Z. They knew what Diddy did, and they closed their eyes. Trafficking in history. Yeah. And I think this is the first time I've ever seen you on the channel. But if not, welcome back. If so, welcome indeed from all of us here on the Electronic Front Porch. We got a couple of more clips, and this rally, this thing took on some really weird situations. Did you see the group of doctors that were at this rally talking on behalf of abortion? But did you see what happened in the background?
Some sort of medical emergency happened?
Yeah, there was an actual medical emergency, and not one of them moved. Oh, you are.
Hello, Connect 22. How are you?
Hello, welcome. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. Love to have you as part of Fedora Nation if you're not already. With that, here's a clip, and folks, you want to see an irony here. You know the old Hippocratic Oath, do no harm, and help everybody whenever you can? Well, check this out, because this is going to make you almost laugh. Yeah.
Necessarily becoming ill and dying. Nationwide, I think someone needs some medical assistance over here.
And there's what? 2, 4, 6, 8.
Not a one of them. Not a one of them.
8
moved.
doctors.
8 doctors on stage, and not
That
one
I
of them
counted.
moved.
There could have been more or less, but that's
exactly.
Not one of them moved. They could have easily gotten off that stage. As a doctor taking the Hippocratic Oath, shouldn't you be rushing off that stage to help someone?
Yeah, you would think.
Doctors stand up in restaurants to help choking people. They step up on airplanes to help people all the time.
And this is a good point. Trump stops his rally. He's like, he's just not, hey, can you help out this person over here? He will literally
He would
stop
have actually
everything.
said, doctor, can you go help him, please?
Yeah. It's just
They're abortion doctors. They are not real OBGYNs. They are abortion doctors that perform abortions, and all this crap about women dying because of ectopic pregnancies is crap. Those things are not considered abortions. Their doctors still perform surgeries every day to complete miscarriages because it's already a miscarriage in progress. They do that. I shared a quote from a OBGYN in Texas today that said that they do those all the time. Only doctors that are incompetent anyway will blame the law about not saving a woman's life when it could have been saved because they didn't remove a ectopic pregnancy, and they blame the law. It's just a new scapegoat to avoid medical malpractice.
Absolutely. And Miss Lana, thank you very much. I genuinely appreciate this. Yeah, Beyonce's she's not that. Yeah, exactly.
And Patty, I want to comment because my mother-in-law is an RN too, and she says the same thing. Have you ever seen a doctor not be able to perform, even ever since Roe versus Wade was overturned, not be able to perform a surgery to help a person with a ectopic pregnancy, or not be able to do a DNC because somebody was sexually assaulted? Have you seen that?
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, and I have seen the clip. I don't have it pulled up, but I know the one you're talking about. And we're gonna get to that momentarily partially. Yeah, Kamala did not get a good reception the other day, folks, and it kind of shows. I've got a clip here. Now, granted, she's in Texas. Texas is Trump country.
It'd be
Let's
like
just be
coming
honest
here to
about it.
Tennessee. It would be the
Yeah.
same kind. Even in liberal Nashville, there would be at least a quarter of that audience would be Trump supporters and would sneak in there to do that.
And I don't know how many of them snuck into a 20,000 seat stadium to do this, but let me tell you something. This woman did not get a good reception. And if you want some proof of that, oh, baby, check this out. Okay, this goes on for like another.
Build the wall?
No, they're chanting Kamala, which is not an uncommon tactic in a moment like this. When you got something you're trying to drown out or not let people hear or not let people see, you'll start a chant like USA or the name of the candidate or whatever. That's what the Democrats are having to do here. This is how badly she's getting booed
in liberal Houston.
In liberal Houston, Texas. Oh God, this is just.
And doesn't Beyonce live in Houston?
Yes, I understand it.
And the rumor is that she took a huge fee for that appearance and refused to go to them. They would have to go to her.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the rumor. Don't know if it's true.
And it doesn't just stop with, Kamala in Texas. I got a clip here of Tim Walz. I'm not sure where he's at, but man, these two are starting to go around the country and they're getting booed in places that you wouldn't think it would happen to. With that, I mean, I'm not going to say the wheels are coming off their campaign.
They always catch him in when they do a screenshot. They always catch him and his wife in the most perfect facial expressions.
Oh, I know.
When they do a clip, it's just funny.
Check this one out, folks.
Get our little ones up, and you start to get them. You take our little ones. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about freedom.
I almost feel bad for this poor guy.
Where was he?
I don't know where this was taken at, but somewhere where he's getting heckled. And I mean, look, I don't agree with
conservatives heckling her. She's got the pro-Palestine section of her party.
Oh yeah,
going after her. They are not voting for her. I've seen like Muslims in Michigan, like they have a Stop Kamala thing, and they're all voting for a Green Party, Jill Stein.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying the wheels are coming off, but it's like they're not getting a lot of love right now. They really aren't. It's amazing to watch what's going on with these two right now. And I've got one more clip here, and I am going to play this in its entirety. So lately, Kamala's been trying to compare, Trump to Hitler, Trump to Hitler, Trump to Hitler. Well, people who actually lived under Hitler's reign, there's not many of them left, but some of them are still alive, and they are speaking out. With that, I have a clip here from a gentleman named, I don't have his name. I apologize. 94-year-old Auschwitz survivor. Okay. He survived the concentration camps. You really want a perspective on what he thinks about all this? He knows what it was like under the Nazi regime, under Adolf Hitler. Listen to this.
My name is Jerry Wartsky. I'm 94 years old.
Looks good for his age.
And survivor of Auschwitz and the death marches. Adolf Hitler invaded Poland when I was 9 years old. He murdered my parents and most of our family. I know more about Hitler than Kamala will ever know in 1,000 lifetimes. For her to accuse President Trump of being like Hitler is the worst thing I've ever heard in my 75 years living in the United States. I know President Trump, and he would never say this, and Kamala Harris knows this. She owes my parents and everybody else who was murdered by Hitler an apology for repeating this lie.
Why should the Jewish people support President Trump?
Because he's a mensch. I believe that President Trump is definitely going to be good for Israel, because in everything that he's done up to now was in favor. He never double-crossed anyone, and he never showed any weakness. Watching President Trump pray for the hostages at the Ohel and spend time with him so meaningful. He has always stood with the Jewish people and the state of Israel.
Yeah. My God.
Yeah. That's a man.
I love it.
Yeah. That is a man who survived Hitler, who survived actual Hitler, actual Auschwitz, actual concentration camps.
What they're doing. And I just want to point out that one of Trump's daughters is married to a Jewish man.
Yeah.
She converted.
Yeah, if he's so anti-Semitic, yeah.
And his other daughter, one of his other daughters, Tiffany, is married to an Arab.
Yep.
So he's not anti-Muslim either.
Nope. Exactly.
Vivek is not a Christian. Vivek and his wife are not Christians. They are, I don't want to say, it's not Hindu, it's something else. But so he is not anti anything.
Yeah.
As far as that goes, except he's pro-America, and that includes all American citizens, no matter what their race, creed, or religion.
Absolutely. And reports are coming out, and Mark Halperin's reporting on this on his own channel, that this whole, a matter of fact, Frank Luntz is the same way. This whole Trump is Hitler rhetoric is backfiring. People are getting mad about this. And it kind of goes back to something I said Thursday night. Franklin Delano Roosevelt said, "We have nothing to fear but fear itself." Dick Armey modified that 40 years later and said, "We have nothing to offer but fear itself." And it's absolutely, when you've reached the point you got to pull the Hitler card, you got nothing.
I've often heard, that whenever you pull, well, so-and-so was, like, during my time as an atheist, and I was an atheist activist and went to conferences and did comedy at them, they would always say that one of their arguments when they were losing the argument was, well, Hitler was a Christian, or Hitler was this, or Hitler was that. It's always, or even when a Christian couldn't argue very well and would say, Hitler was an atheist, which Hitler was into all sorts of occult, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But when you pull the Nazi card or the Hitler card, you have nothing of substance.
Yeah. And you're about to see some proof of that, because I've got some stuff in the next segment lined up, which I teased Thursday night, but time wouldn't let me do it.
Yeah.
I got a little bit more time to do it now. And some of the stuff that we're going to show you is just rather stunning. But before we get to that.
And the Muslim ban, what Jardim is saying, it did not include Muslim countries that were friendly or peaceful with the United States. It only included ones that were actively importing terrorists into our country.
Yep, exactly. And real quick commercial, since we're almost at the bottom of the hour. My name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. You have found your way to Front Porch Brunch, which is a fun little live stream that we do on the weekends, kind of giving a wrap up on the news, getting us ready to be able to go into next week. If you are not subscribed to my channel on Rumble and YouTube, go ahead and give me a sub. We'd really appreciate it. This is my lovely friend over here, Miss Tracy Barkley from Gen X marks the spot. She covers true crime, film reviews. She's a stand-up comedian, a totally awesome person. And she has the good sense to hang around with me. Why, I don't know, but there you go. Please give her a sub. Follow her on Twitter. Help us both out. As our mutual friend Mike Harlow is fond of saying, we are up-and-coming grifters. We'd like to be up-and-coming big grifters. So, we'll take all the subs we can get. Anyway, all right, let's get into this. I teased it Thursday night. I want to do kind of what they call in NASCAR, a full field rundown of where we are at as far as some of the polling. And I know, polling is one of those things that's like, is it totally accurate? No, but it can show you the trend. And this morning, something happened.
And some polls were proved very accurate in both
That's
2016 and 2020.
That is true.
Some polls, not all of them.
But something happened this morning on the Real Clear Politics average, which I call the psychological breakthrough. And before I started in serious, I need to say hello to somebody over on Rumble. Blocked Ad Runner, you have been chatting like a fiend all morning. I have not had a chance to say hello to you yet. Welcome in, brother. And to all you wing nuts over there, I see everything you're putting up. I just haven't really had a chance to engage with you guys yet because I got so much stinking
and I'm running my mouth, so I apologize. And I can't see the Rumble feed. I can only see the YouTube feed. So
yeah. So God love all y'all over on Rumble. I see you guys, and my apologies for not interacting more than what I am, but I'm trying to, man, I need a team. It's like
you do.
Help me. Lord, give me some people. Give me some people. Anyway, something happened this morning on the Real Clear Politics average. It's what I call the psychological breakthrough moment. And it's this. For the first time in now 12 years of Donald Trump running for president, in the national popular vote, in the aggregate average, Donald Trump, and this may not last. I mean, who knows? The Washington Post will probably drop a Harris plus 10 poll tomorrow. But for the first time ever in the RCP's average of polls, Donald Trump has an actual lead in the average. Now, I call this the psychological breakthrough moment, and there's kind of a reason for that. I'm just wondering if now that there's actually being shown a lead, if you're not going to have pollsters, and Rich Barris talks about this phenomenon all the time. He calls it herding. I just wonder if you're not going to have pollsters, if they do drop any polls next week. Some of them have already dropped their finals, which the fact they did it 14 days in advance is a little bit weird to me, but okay. What if you start having some polls come out next week? Trump +2, Trump plus, and you got some of it right now. Trump +2, and it starts bumping that average.
They actually start talking to people, or they are actually honest in their reporting, because a lot of them remove data they don't like. They cherry
exactly, or they skew the data in such a way that it makes the result look like what's not naturally going on its own. So you've got that. You have the psychological breakthrough moment, and then you take a run through the states. Arizona in the average, Trump plus 1.5 points.
Not enough. Needs to be at least 3 or 4.
I agree with you, but that sort of gets us to something else, which I want to get into, and early vote data. Now, I understand early vote data is not the actual vote. It's just who requested a ballot. Were they a Republican? Were they a Democrat? Were they an independent? We don't know how they voted. We won't know how they voted till election day. Okay. That said, however, there are some trends coming out of who's requesting ballots that even though the RCP average may not show big numbers for Trump in the battleground states, you're starting to get the feeling the Republicans are putting their shoulder to the wheel and they're trying to boost their chances. With that said, and this is a valid point. They need to show Kamala Harris up in the polls to support the steal. If they're going to try and do it, they've got to show that. But
with all the poll watching, I don't think that's going to be a possibility. They're already busting people with fake ballots and stuff.
They busted somebody up in Lancaster County the other day. They found a ring of fraud that they were engaged in, which I got a story about that here in a minute. So with that, we've got some data from each of these individual background sets. This is from NBC.
Sorry, my puppy's having some allergy problems. You can probably hear him.
Oh, gesundheit. Anyway, from Arizona, early vote data. We've got some of this. This is from NBC's website. There have been like a little over 1 million mail-in and early mail-in ballots and early in-vote person cast. Of that, the Republicans have like a 8-point lead in Arizona among just early vote. Now, again, no one knows how they voted yet. No one knows anything else. But if you make certain assumptions, you can see Republicans feel really good about what's happening in Arizona. Now, again, I put nothing past the Democrats. I understand this thing ain't over till it's over, but there are encouraging signs and portents that are out there. A little bit more related to this early vote data. Trump has an 85,000 vote lead in Arizona. That's R+7 in the early voting. So there you go. Moving around the board, we've got some other information from Georgia. State just a little bit down south of Tracy. Trump in the average 2.2% lead. That for Georgia is good, especially when you think back to 2020.
Even Quinnipiac, who is normally, did you see that for Quinnipiac down in your thing? For them to be such a left-leaning poll.
Oh, yeah. They've
Trump
got
+6.
Let me pop that up there for a minute. I didn't see it. Yeah, you got like a Trump +6 coming from Quinnipiac, and that was from the middle of the month. See, that's the other thing about this. Mm-hmm. There is going to be movement one way or the other, probably starting, I'm going to say either tomorrow or Tuesday at the absolute latest. You know, this thing's going to break one way or the other.
And the most accurate poll you can trust in the state of Georgia is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, and it has Trump +4.
Yeah. So, again, going back to early data numbers, again, this is from NBC. You have, according to their records, and these were updated as of this morning, you have a little over 2.5 million mail-in and early in-person votes cast. The Republicans are showing like 49-45 in Georgia. Okay. All right. Now, yeah, the Democrats have an advantage in mail-in ballots requested, but early voting and mail-in combined, the Republicans have at least a 4-point lead. Again, take this for what it's worth. I'm just showing you what I got.
Also, another big thing is, even if it looks like Republicans are down, you have to remember the percentage of early vote and mail-in voting that Republicans are currently getting is much higher than it was in 2020. And overall, mail-in voting is down.
Yes.
So when you look at that, the Republicans have claimed a huge chunk of that. They may not take it, but they have claimed enough of a chunk that the Democratic firewall that came from mail-in voting is dwindling away. That's the point that these pollsters that are watching the early vote and mail-in voting are trying to put out, that the firewall of the Democrats dominating that is going away. And that is because of the Republicans having a strong ground game this time.
Stronger than they normally did.
Yeah.
From Michigan, Gypsy, your neck of the woods. In the aggregate, Trump, and it's a razor thin in Michigan. Okay. And again, this is an aggregate combination of polls. I get it. But, you know, from people who are really good in Michigan, like, for example, Mitchell Research, Trump +1, Trafalgar, Trump +2. And again, you got a Harris +4 from Quinnipiac. You've got a Harris +3 from Bloomberg. But there's some other data coming out of Michigan that is definitely worth for your consideration. Now, for the sake of being able to say we tried to do this as fair, to look at the mail-in and the early vote cast, you've got Republican or Democrats have a big lead so far, like 1.4 million votes cast, early mail-in and early in-person votes cast. If you take the idea that a registered Democrat, came in to vote early or mail in their ballot, 52 to 38 lead. That's big. Okay. If there is any one state that I worry about Trump losing of the battlegrounds, I'm not going to lie, it's Michigan.
Oh yeah, I think that's the most least likely. I think he has a 98% chance of winning Pennsylvania. I think he has a 90% chance of winning Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But Michigan, it could go right down to the wire and he could lose it ultimately. But if he gets what he's going for ultimately, which is Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, you don't need Michigan.
Yeah, but did you hear, and I've got it pulled up, the mayor of Dearborn, Michigan, which has the highest concentration of Arab Americans in the country, has announced he's not endorsing Kamala. He came out the other day and said, nope, not doing it. He ain't voting for Trump, but he's not going to endorse Kamala.
Oh, they're either not going to vote or they're going to vote Stein.
Yeah, and with that,
or Chase Oliver.
Here's part of his statement about it.
When you get to the top of the ticket, or when you arrive at the top of the ticket, what I advocate for, what I endorse is that you vote your moral conscience. And for many, for each individual, that's going to mean something differently. But I'm leaving it to them. I am not endorsing any single candidate for president, as I have not found any candidate, especially the candidate with a party that I've affiliated myself with, who has been willing to depart from the current course that President Biden has taken us down on the genocide in Gaza and the broader conflict that has now touched Lebanon. I have, my wife's cousin was just killed a few days ago as a paramedic in Lebanon. Her grandparents' house was just bombed, the house in which her father helped build. Our county commissioner just posted that the house in which he grew up in and has memories in was just targeted and blown up. This is civilian infrastructure. The first Lebanese American citizen that was slaughtered by the Israeli government was a Dearborn resident. Many of my friends and family have now lost family and loved ones. My wife was not able to go to her grandmother's funeral in Lebanon because of the war. And she will never have closure. Watching my mother-in-law day in and day out know that she was not present for the burial of her mother. These are direct impacts on the residents that I serve day in and day out that people just don't comprehend or understand. To your point earlier, when you see the scenes unfolding on social media, when you see the genocide being live streamed, to many, these are faces of strangers, villages, names that they've never heard of. To all of us here in the city of Dearborn, the images of the individuals you've seen being slaughtered, these are our friends and our family. The villages that you've seen being bombarded and decimated, these are our ancestral homes. And so that is why I have taken the position that I have taken.
Well, yeah, I mean, but you should vote for the person that's going to stop the war. And that is Trump.
Yeah.
He's going to stop the war.
And Gypsy, being the on the ground soul that she is up in the great Wolverine state, all Trump signs and Trump flags in my city. One guy does a daily drive-by with a massive Trump flag on his truck. And yeah, there are going to be Arabs who vote for Trump. There are going to be Arabs that vote for Stein.
Or Chase Oliver. A lot of them are going third party. Like I said, that Stop Kamala Arab push in Michigan is not about voting for Trump. It's about not voting for Kamala.
Yeah, and that is one of the reasons that the Democrats were so pissed off when she announced that she was running again. They're like, son of a... Got to go through this again? And you watch. If Trump does pull off Michigan, and I'm not saying you can't win it. I'm just saying...
I think it'll be razor thin, but I think he will pull off Michigan.
If he pulls off Michigan, don't you think the Democrats aren't going to blame Jill Stein again? Mm-hmm. Jardam, you are being extraordinarily generous this morning. Thank you. From across the waters, I get YouTube ads for Gaza. Am I a bad person for not wanting to help? Who would hang me for being gay? I get YouTube ads for Gaza. Am I a bad person for not wanting to help people who would hang me for being gay?
No.
You're not a bad person, sir. You're not a bad person at all, and not in the slightest. To go back to it,
Israel is the only Middle Eastern country that will lets gay people live their lives as they want to live their lives and does not target them for execution or jail. It's the only Arab country. You can be gay in Saudi Arabia. You can be gay in the United Arab Emirates, but it has to be gay in the closet behind closed doors. You don't speak of it.
Yeah, exactly. To Nevada, in the aggregate, Trump's got a lead. Now, this is the state that, to me, is the absolutely weirdest. If you look at that aggregate, you think to yourself, oh, crap, we're no better off here than we are in Michigan. Folks, let me tell you something right now. I am scouring the internet every day, Twitter, as many places I can with the time that I've got. And you talk about, you look at that number, you say, oh, man, we're not doing real good in Michigan. Democrats are freaking out about what's happening to them in Nevada. They're getting their clocks cleaned.
Nevada is never in play for the Republicans. Never, ever. And we're talking about big swings in Clark County.
Yeah. And if you want some proof of what we're saying, I've got NBC's own numbers right here. This is causing Democrats to absolutely soil themselves. Here's the mail-in and early in-person votes cast. Now, to look at it, you say, oh, okay, it's a little over 500,000. What's the big deal? Here's the big deal. The Republicans have a 6-point advantage.
And it looks like third parties have, what, 21%?
24%. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and even among mail-in ballots requested, Republicans have a 7-point lead on just the ballots requested. Not cast yet.
Now, that doesn't mean that those Republicans are necessarily going to vote for Trump, but chances are most of them are.
That's a fair point. And on the other side of that, we don't know that all Democrats are going to vote for Kamala. So the question is,
or third parties.
Who wins the crossover battle?
In third party, a lot of those are just independents that they get lumped into third party or other, or just independents that have no party affiliation.
Exactly. And maybe this is bad juju for that naked Trump statue on the Nevada highway. Maybe they're getting what they got coming.
The culinary unions in Las Vegas, they, as I recall, they did not endorse anyone this time, but they have come on record as saying that the majority of their members support Trump. That is huge. And it's all because of the no taxes on overtime and no taxes on tips and closing the border, because you see a lot of illegal migrants taking jobs in Vegas once they get a green card.
Absolutely. And a little bit of updated information from this morning. Republicans hold like a 28 statewide, from the looks of it. They hold a 28,000 vote lead going into this weekend as far as, early voting lead in Nevada statewide. This never happens, folks. Yeah.
We're talking Las Vegas and Reno. Well, Reno is kind of a light pink area anyway, but downtown Reno has traditionally been more blue than the rest of the county. But even there, you see a huge swing to the right.
Yeah. I mean, and talking about Clark County, which is Vegas, here's some more information for you, just to pass it along. Take it for what it's worth. Nevada early vote update. This was as of this morning, about 7:45 Eastern. Keep hearing that Clark County unaffiliated voters will save Harris. All right, it's possible, but remember, rural unaffiliated voters exist too. 18,000 rural unaffiliated have voted, and the likely split is 3-1 Republican.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, the Democrats are absolutely tripping out over this. It's not good for them. Moving on to North Carolina, the one state that everybody thinks what's going to happen because of Hurricane Helene. Guess what,
people are going to crawl over glass to vote.
Exactly. And in the aggregate, Trump's got a lead of just about 1%. But still, the thing about North Carolina, it will poll to the left and vote to the right. Okay? Like certain states will do. And I agree with Tracy. Trump voters are going to go over broken glass to get out to vote for this guy.
I'm going Tuesday to vote. Three people in my household. We are going Tuesday to vote early. Straight red ticket down the board. And I do not like Marsha Blackburn at all, but I am voting straight red down the ticket.
Yep. And just to give you an idea of where they're at, to look at the early vote data.
And that's going to help in the Senate race. A lot of people are just going to go in and hit that Republican button.
Yep. it's split almost right down the middle as far as mail-in and early vote, the percentages between registered Democrats and registered Republicans. However, when you start looking at raw number, the Republicans have like a roughly 22,000 vote lead in early voting in North Carolina. And folks, this doesn't happen.
But mail-in ballot in 2020 was runaway for the Democrats.
Oh, absolutely.
Runaway. And now they're having to split it evenly with Republicans. Their firewall is gone. And I don't believe any of this is cannibalizing our vote, because all of this represents new voters.
A lot, and that's a great point. A lot of these votes, according to people that I'm reading and listening to, a lot of them are what are called low propensity voters. They're either 0 out of 4, meaning they haven't voted in any elections of the past 4 elections. They're 1 out of 4. Exactly. And the Republicans,
because mail-in was an option. Mail-in was not an option before that, unless you were true absentee. And so now they're going to probably cast their votes for Trump.
And the Republicans are getting more of that low propensity vote in certain states than the Democrats are. There is little to no enthusiasm to come out for Kamala Harris. Now, this weekend with certain things like souls to the polls in Georgia, that might help the Democrats, especially in other states around the country. But by and large, there is no great love among Democrats to want to get out and vote for this woman. There's just
you're seeing conservatives take 4 and 5 people with them to vote. You're seeing there was a company in Texas I saw on Twitter that basically closed up shop for a couple of hours last week and said, everybody go to the polls and vote right now. Let's go vote as a company. And everybody, they took a caravan down the road and went to vote. And I guarantee you those were mostly red voters.
Pennsylvania, the one that everybody is talking about. Trump with a 0.5 point lead in the aggregate. But here's the thing. Check this out.
Can we talk about Scott Presler for a minute?
That boy deserves
a national treasure.
Yes. Give me 49 more like him and we'll turn this country completely conservative.
He has flipped a couple of blue counties red by registration already in Pennsylvania, and has been the one leading the effort to stop these ballot harvesting scandals in Pennsylvania.
Yep. And I tell you what, if Scott Presler starts teaching other people in other states how to do what he does, and they catch the same kind of fire that he's got, man, he could turn New Jersey. He could turn, name the state. It might take him a few cycles to do it, but he could pull it off.
And
he
can I say something?
Pull it off. Go ahead.
Doesn't matter. And he's gay.
Yeah.
And the only reason I say that is if you are out there, if you're on the fence, wondering if you are welcome in this new movement because of your sexuality or gender identity or anything, you are 100% welcome. And you are just 100% welcome, because we don't hate anyone.
Now, to go back to that, and absolutely true, and to go back to that data about Pennsylvania, the only reason that 0.5 point edge is being held down, you got a poll from Bloomberg, and that was in the middle of the month. You got another one from New York Times Siena. That was around the beginning of the month. Folks, it would not surprise me at all if Trump does win Pennsylvania, if he wins it. It would not surprise me much at all if he wins it by like 2.5, 3 points, maybe 4 on the top end. It really wouldn't. Now, everybody, and I've been worrying about this now for the longest time. But Brian, what about the ballots that come in after Election Day? Look what they did to us in 2020. Folks, a piece of news came out yesterday, and it has got the absolute potential to roil that up for the Democrats. Now,
Fifth Circuit.
Yeah. Fifth Circuit. Thank you. You already know where I'm going with this. The Fifth Circuit out of Mississippi handed down a ruling from a 3-judge panel, and I know the Democrats, they're going to try to appeal this, okay? They will try to get an injunction to stop it, and they'll try to appeal it immediately. But the Fifth Circuit ruled yesterday that Election day is election day. And if you've got mail-in ballots out there, they have got to come in by the day of. And
Absolutely, that's the way it should be. The only thing has ever been allowed to come in after election day is troops ballots from overseas. That is the only thing.
Yep.
But even in the bygone days, you remember that the election had already been called because all they were expecting was 0.5% or 1% to come in from the military vote.
Yep.
And they knew it wasn't enough to swing anything.
Now, again, if I know that snake in the grass, Mark Elias, who is like the ultimate Democrats' lawyer's lawyer, he's probably drafting the request for injunction right now in order to appeal this up to the Fifth Circuit, the full Fifth Circuit, okay? But assuming that they can't win to overturn this in a place like Pennsylvania, that means, hey, if you got 500,000 ballots hanging out there in the breeze, either you get them in by election day or they don't count. And that is going to royally screw up some plans for some people.
Yeah.
Absolutely, it will.
And you got to remember, with the swings and the mail-in and the early voting that's already coming in, I think you're going to see most states at, 90% votes tabulated.
Yep.
By the time the polls close.
Uh-huh.
And they're going to have no choice but to call those states if the Trump swing is so huge. If there's enough of a spread, they have to call them. There's no,
Okay, well, TBA asks a question, and I'm gonna do my best real fast to look this up because he asked the question. But the full Fifth Circuit only covers certain states, right? But true. But as I understand it, my understanding of the ruling, it affects all states everywhere. In other words, as it's a federal ruling, this isn't just going to be about Mississippi. This is going to be about everywhere in the country.
It sets the precedent. That's how judgments happen at the higher levels and even at the lower levels. Precedents. They rule because of precedents. And it sets a precedent at the federal level that any ballot not in by election day, not postmarked in by election day, should be thrown out. That's what the Democrats' arguing point has been. As long as it's postmarked by election day, no, has to be in my hand by election day.
That's right. And if that's the case, that it covers all states, then they is got all kinds of problems on the Democrat side.
And Trump's already tweeted that he has people watching the polls in every state. They're not going into this blindly. There are poll watchers out there. Yep. He's not going to let them steal it this time.
Yeah, exactly.
I think our biggest fear, it has to be big enough. That is, Trump has to win by a considerable margin. It would be nice if he could win the popular vote and the electoral vote. We need to take the Senate and hold the House, or at least keep the House within just 1 or 2 seats, very, very few, so that they don't try to invoke the whole, he's Hitler, Nazi, we can't let him take office bullshit. Yep. Because that requires 2/3 votes of the new Congress. So it is very important, people. Not only should you vote Trump, you should vote down ballot red to protect it. When he does win, we have to protect the win so that they don't try to steal it after the fact by trying to block him. Because with a 2/3 vote of Congress, they could attempt to do that.
Okay. Yeah, I just found a story here from Just the News, and I may have to temper what I said. This may apply just to Mississippi's election law, but as Tracy said, it does set precedent for everywhere else, and it's a federal ruling. So, this is going to be spread out everywhere. So, I will take back a little bit of what I said, but not too much of it. Story, I've got a link here to the story. I'll drop it in chat on both sides. But my point is this stuff is absolutely being watched. And, this is absolutely going to be big all the way around. Let's see. A federal appeals court. Who wrote this? Misty Severevi for Just the News. A federal appeals court on Friday ruled that Mississippi's election law that allows mail-in ballots to come in up to 5 days after the election is illegal, because voters still need to cast their ballots by election day. Mississippi is one of 18 states that lets mail-in ballots come in after Election Day if they are postmarked by November 5th. The order has now been sent back to the lower court to determine whether the Mississippi statute will be blocked immediately or if it's too late for the statute to be changed for the 2024 election. Okay, there you go. So, yeah, there's a lot of work being done right now to try to protect the ballot, and it's everywhere. Matter of fact, did you guys hear about what happened in Lancaster County? They broke up a suspected voter fraud ring. And I will not necessarily go through the whole thing, but I will drop the link in chat on both sides. So there you go. Anyway, Wisconsin, another state I'm keeping an eye on. Trump with a very thin lead. But there are some things here, and Wisconsin's tough to poll. It always has been tough to poll. Because to look at, you think, oh, my God, this is just a tight race. And maybe not. Let me get to the early vote and the mail-in data from NBC News. Yeah, and it looks like that the Democrats have a big lead. But there are 3 counties in Wisconsin that are referred to as the WOW counties: Waukesha, Ozaukee, and Washington. And right now, those 3 counties together are offsetting the advantage that the Democrats normally get in Dane County. Dane County is like the Democrat stronghold, or one of them, in the state.
Is that Madison or Milwaukee?
It should be Madison, I think.
Okay. That's the college town.
Should be Madison. And normally the Democrats can count on that and, limit their problems elsewhere. Well, this time the WOW counties are turning out heavy so far in the early voting. So last one that I'll show you guys, and this is the one that's intriguing the crap out of me because there are some stuff happening there, and I don't know quite what to make of this. Virginia. If you look at the RCP average, the last time this was polled with any seriousness was at the beginning of October. And if you take the aggregate on its face, Harris has got like a 6.5 point lead. Now, notice what I said. This race hasn't been polled in any seriousness since the beginning of October. Folks, I got my hands on a poll that came out of Virginia the other day. It's by a firm I'm not really familiar with, but they're kind of new to the polling game, Quantus. Quantus is known primarily for doing simulations of how they think votes are going to turn out, that sort of thing. They polled Virginia. Here's their result. Harris with only a 1 point lead. Now, I bring this up. The other reason that I think this is interesting, it kind of goes to a lot of stuff, a lot of chatter I'm hearing about early voting and requests for ballots. I tell you what, the Republicans are absolutely doing everything they can. Glenn Youngkin, as the Republican governor of Virginia, is cranking up machinery as if he were running to try to pull out this state for Trump. I'll say this. If on election night Harris wins, but it takes her well into the night before they call the state, that's a problem. Because the last time a Democrat ran in Virginia for president, Joe Biden won Virginia by 10 points.
And they called it very early, like within a couple
very
hours
early.
of the polls closing.
Very early. If it goes to 11, midnight, 1 in the morning, and they still haven't called Virginia, that's not a good sign, not just for the state of Virginia, but for everywhere else that Harris has to win. Remember,
it's that close, yeah.
She has to pull off the inside straight. She has to pull off Michigan, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin to have any hope at all of the Democrats retaining the White House.
Whereas
Lose
Trump
one
has,
of them?
Yeah,
go ahead.
Trump only needs one of the wise men.
Yeah, he needs just one of the wise men. She's got to have all 3. If he takes anything else, I mean, I'll put it to you this way. Here's something for you to think about. Imagine what happens to Trump's path to the White House if he picks up Virginia, the three wise men don't matter at that point.
He could lose all
win it
three.
anywhere. He could lose all three and still win the presidency. So now, like I said, folks, I don't know what's going to happen on election day. There's a lot going against us. There's a lot going for us. And anything
in Virginia, possible. Right?
Well, not just in Virginia, but in the country in general. But I bring you this information not to give anybody false hope, not to blow up smoke up anybody's pant leg. I'm just saying, let's do what we do and let's see what happens, because I think the signs and portents are there.
Let's go vote and take 10 people with you.
Do I think the Democrats have the capability of stealing it? Hell yeah. Yeah. Of course. Let's do what we do, because I think it's there. I think it's right there in the palm of our hand. All we got to do is close this thing.
We have to swamp the vote and go vote down ballot, all red. Let's not only deliver a victory for Trump, let's deliver a victory for all the congressional candidates as well to protect the Trump victory. And let's really give this country 4 years of a chance to correct all the bullshit of the last 4 years.
And by the way, when I say signs and portents, there's stuff from outside the United States that leads me to think that good things are happening. There's stuff inside the United States. Here's a story from the Daily Express US, which is a British paper. Patrick Basham, one of my other favorite pollsters. He is British. He got no dog in the hunt. Okay. He polls for an organization called the Democracy Institute. He dropped a new set of polls yesterday. Shock poll shows Trump's unexpected lead in Sunbelt swing states. Yeah, with the golf swing.
That was awesome.
Come on. I know you. Pull it up. Here we go. National popular vote in a poll done between the 22nd and the 24th of October. Trump with a 3-point lead nationwide. Which that would match up with what other people have been saying. In Patrick Basham's polling, he's got Trump with a 5-point lead in Arizona, 4-point lead in Georgia, 4-point lead in Nevada. So, folks, and again, take it for what it's worth.
And a 3% victory nationwide should give him both the Electoral College and the popular
vote. And it would be a blowout in the Electoral College.
Mm-hmm.
An absolute blowout. Now, I say there are other signs and portents. Check this one out. The Washington Post is not endorsing anybody for president. This hasn't happened since the 1980s. Think about that for a minute. And by the way, you talk about some bitching and crying. Man, you had people in the newsroom and the editorial staff, they turned in their resignations that day when they found out the paper wasn't going to endorse Kamala.
Do you think Jeff Bezos really cares?
No, he's stooping his supermodel wife on the yacht out in the Chesapeake Bay. He doesn't give a damn.
Hire some more reporters. They're a dime a dozen. That's what
Exactly. Then you've got this. And again, take it for what it's worth, considering the source. The Guy Benson Show. He works for Fox News Digital. I've got a clip here, and I want to play it for you guys. And this is a reporter. He's got an ear on the ground in D.C. Just to give you guys some perspective on this. Check out Guy Benson's recent commentary.
When you talk to the people in both campaigns, there's a lot of concern with Harris campaign operatives. They've seen polling. I've heard from some Democratic operatives polling out of the Midwestern states that is even worse than what the public polling shows for Kamala Harris. They're seeing the movement in the wrong direction. And you also look at some of these early voting numbers, and I am someone who cautions very much not to overread the early voting data. But
fair point. And I've said the same thing. We will continue.
When you look at what's coming out of Nevada from an expert like John Ralston, who knows the state better than anyone else, he's seeing sort of historic levels of Republican turnout and historic numbers of typically low turnout type voters that would normally vote Republican showing up early, which is a surprise, and Democrats not showing up where they did 4 years ago. So, I again, you look at everything holistic, you look at everything as part of a big picture, and the picture is pretty consistent that Harris has lost momentum. Trump has momentum at the end of the election, and it's still close, but I think you'd rather be Donald Trump right now than Kamala Harris.
Again, take it for what it's worth.
It could be those are all Rhino Republicans that are voting for Harris. It's possible. I don't think so, but it's possible.
Exactly. Okay.
Because honestly, this is the first time in a long time I feel that the overall Republican Party is united behind Trump.
Yeah, and which may say more about Donald Trump's takeover of the Republican Party and reforming it into a different institution than what it has been prior to him being there, versus, what it was before he came along.
Yeah. Because, you've got the people like Liz Cheney, the warmongering Liz Cheney. You've got, what's his face from Utah, Mitt Romney. Yeah, those are not Trump people, but they are the vast, vast minority in the Republican Party. And then you look at the disinfected Democrats that are leaving the Democratic Party, becoming independents. I think it's all hopeful, just like you said.
Exactly. And with that, folks, we are about to head to our... Oh, we have a question for you, Tracy.
Oh.
Let me pop this up on screen, make it easier for you to read.
I am close to Nashville. I live in the boonies, but I live in the Nashville circumference area.
Well, there you go. And a wonderful town. I haven't been down to Nashville in forever, but a gorgeous town with very wonderful people, which is true of most, if not all, Tennesseans. And I'm not saying that, Tracy, because you're here. I genuinely mean this. Tennessee people are probably some of the best people in America you'll ever meet. They really are.
They're tough people. They're nice people. Yeah.
All right. I tell you what, we're about to hit the HodgePodge stew section of the show. And since it's almost the top of the hour, one last quick commercial for both of us. Tracy, where can people find you on social media? What can they do to help you out in your efforts?
You can find me on X at Gen X Marks. You can find me here on YouTube at Gen X Marks the Spot.
There you go. And my name is Brian Trippett. I'm the Front Porch Conservative. You can find me on Rumble. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on YouTube. So please subscribe in all places. Would be greatly appreciated. And by the way, for all y'all that have been giving super chats and super stickers this morning, God love you guys. Your generosity is genuinely appreciated. It really is. Really cannot thank you guys. And thank you guys for being here this morning. The chat has been on fire on both sides.
Great.
You have been absolutely awesome and engaged and popping out information and everything else. And just, I love you guys. I really do mean it. All right. HodgePodge stew. For those of you who've never been here before, and particularly I'm thinking of our new friend who has found her way to the electronic front porch, Miss Hello Connect 22. If you've never been here before, HodgePodge stew is that section of the show where we talk about stories that are not, shall we say, above the fold, to use an old newspaper term. When you get a newspaper, if your story was just below the banner, but just above the fold, it was like a top story. Well, then the stories under that, below the fold. These would be sort of the below the fold stories that are interesting and quirky and, things you need to pass on to people just to let them think or maybe even give them a chuckle. And our first one in HodgePodge stew has to do with Tracy's favorite journalist, Anderson Cooper. Because I know she keeps a life-size cardboard cutout of Anderson in her bedroom, at night, that she wakes up to the first thing in the morning and go, hello, dreamboat. Anyway, I'll pay for that one later, folks. I know I will. Oh, she's already thinking, you son of a bitch. That's all right. Tracy knows that I keep a life-size cardboard cutout of Chelsea Handler in my bedroom. So, it kind of works out.
I hear she gives good handies.
That's what 50 says, just saying. Anyway.
I was going to say Jean-Pierre.
Oh. Didn't take her long to get even, folks. That's Jean-Claude Van Damme Pierre. Whew.
As a lesbian, we do not claim her.
I get it. Yeah, y'all keep that White House press secretary. She's all yours, y'all. Just saying. But Anderson Cooper recently did something I never thought I'd ever see him do. Because normally the mainstream media sticks together, even though they are competitors on different networks. But Anderson did something in a recent visit from Charlemagne the God, and he kind of let something slip that I don't think he intended, but was actually downright funny. And with that, folks, do me a favor and check this out.
This country where, you know what, I got so many, I don't look at comments about myself, but I was looking up some comments about my grief podcast, and I came across this whole inundation from people who are Harris supporters saying to me online today, like, how dare you, what a betrayal that you would ask her these questions.
No,
and I'm
your
like,
job.
You misunderstand what my job is. I'm not on MSNBC, and no disrespect, what they do is they're very talented.
Now, wait a minute. What do you mean, no disrespect? I'm not on MSNBC. Anderson, my boy, did you just let slip what you really think about what goes on your competitor?
That they're a propaganda machine and not a real journalistic organization?
I mean, I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. I didn't.
Who watches MSNBC? Have you ever met a legitimate MSNBC watcher?
Actually, yes, I have. I met
Really?
5 of them. I met 5 of them at a Walgreens one time. There were 5 women coming to buy boxed wine for the evening party. And let me tell you, it would take wine to put up with these women. I'm just saying.
It has to be then wine moms, because I can't think of anyone else. I drink wine, but not box wine. That's something to be said for their taste.
Yeah, I mean, again, there is a reason why the 4th commandment of drinking was put in. The 4th commandment of drinking says, it doesn't matter how much you drink. They really ain't getting any prettier. Trust me, when I saw these 5 women at the Walgreens buying boxed wine for a house party to go watch MSNBC, I went, whew. Now I understand.
Drink and watch Rachel Maddow.
Pretty much. And I think they're buying cat food while they're. One of them was buying cat food. And I just.
Hey, I have a cat.
See, there's a difference though. There's a difference. Okay, you are a cat and dog lover. These women were just buying the cats because I don't think aside from the cat, there's anybody else in their house aside from them, the cat. Just saying. Yeah, I think you're getting. I think you're picking up what I'm laying down now. Okay. So yeah, old Anderson, he kind of, interesting. Now, here is one that is a makeup on my part. Oh yeah, he did also drop the word bullshit during that broadcast. He did. Here's one where, and I have to apologize to one of my regular listeners, Midmo. Midmo sent me this a while back, and I just for one reason or another, I hadn't got this thing up here. But when someone sends me something in, I was not throwing cat shade. I'm not throwing cat shade on anybody. If you are the owner of a feline, I have no problem with that. There are some people that, own cats, and there's nothing wrong with them doing it. I love you all cat owners out there.
Yeah,
I'm just saying there are certain individuals who have gotten the title of cat ladies, and they, in some cases, they earn it. Now, there's some ladies
but you can't judge every single woman or single person.
Right.
That
nor am I doing so. Let's get me out of trouble here.
I lived along with 2 dogs for the longest time before I met my wife. So, we're not all crazy.
This is. Jardam,
I like you a lot,
Jardam, you are welcome on my electronic front porch anytime you want to come here. That's great. That's absolutely great.
They are, and it's not just gay men. It's the most prissy flamboyant gay men, because my cat can be so sweet. She can be sitting right next to me, just so sweet. And then if I make a move the wrong way, even if it's just to scratch my leg, she'll bite me.
Do you remember the British television show, Are You Being Served?
Yes.
Do you
Gotta go
remember
take their
Mr.
mice.
Humphreys? Yes, Mr.
Mhm.
Humphreys. I'm pretty sure that the soul of Mr. Humphreys has been reincarnated into a cat at somewhere in the world. Just saying. So Midmo sent me something related to January 6th and Ray Epps, and I kept promising him I would play this, and I'm going to do it this morning. And Midmo, I hope you're here. And again, my apologies for not getting this up on air sooner. But he came across a clip and he forwarded it on to me. And it's a clip having to do with January 6th and the role that Antifa may have played in that day's happenings. And with that, I want to put this up here. Check this out. And here you go.
He's getting his disguise on.
Okay, so remember this. I'm gonna wear a mask underneath the mask. You should wear this. I'm wondering if I should wear, what do you think I should wear as a hat? Should I wear this or this?
Yeah, the America hat might be my move. But we'll see. I'll bring them both in my backpack.
We've got Fox News. Oh wait,
CNN. We're ready to
we're ready.
I don't know if we're committing crimes doing this, but like
Are you insinuating that I don't work for all three of these companies simultaneously?
I am at least a little bit insinuating that.
You feel like you think that I don't work for all of them. They won't trust you unless there's a visual, like there's something visual.
Look, I just left the protest.
So there you go, folks. It runs a little bit longer, but
you can't tell me that a significant portion of those people were either Antifa, leftists, or feds.
Exactly.
I mean, trying to stir the pot to try to get some kind of insurrection kind of thing going. And it wasn't really even an insurrection. There was only one death. Some glass got broken. There was one death. Was it our proudest hour? No. But if you look at the Constitution, if you're going to protest, what do you protest? The government. The BLM protested private property and burned down lots of private property, hurt private citizens. At least when the conservatives that were there were protesting, they were peaceful, and they protested the government, which is what you should do.
Exactly. All right, a couple more things by way of HodgePodge stew. If you are a, shall we say, sojourner on Twitter, no doubt you may have come across the Twitter account Freedom Tunes. And they came up with something recently. Everyone by now has acknowledged or been exposed to Kamala's disastrous 27-minute interview with Brett Baer on Fox News. Well, the gang over at Freedom Tunes took their creativity and their talents and put together what that interview might have looked like in cartoon form. So for your enjoyment, and I'm not necessarily sure about your informational edification, but for your entertainment, please enjoy the following.
Ms. Harris, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Brad.
Thank you.
We'll see how this goes for you.
Mrs. Harris, how many people do you believe have crossed the borders? Miss Harris. Kamala, please. Mrs. Vice President, it's a simple question.
I'm speaking. Excuse me, I'm speaking.
I apologize. All right, well, I'm just going to say it. She destroyed him Oh my gosh. Right? Oh golly, he's so embarrassed. I bet those Republicans are regretting that one. Kamala, Kamala, Kamala.
You know, they say there's always a certain measure of truth in humor. Boy, did the gang from Freedom Tunes nail that one.
And folks, that's Angus from Tim Pool's podcast that runs Freedom Tunes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So yeah, Midmo sent me that one as well. Thank you very much. And again, Midmo, my apologies for not getting these up sooner, and then, you know, that's on me. But yeah, we've got one more thing, and then I'll turn you guys loose for the day, which again, thank you guys so much for being here. We are just right on the edge of almost 3 hours. I almost feel it now. I know how Rush used to feel. And this has been a load of, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm speaking for Tracy. This has been a load of fun.
It's been
just
a
an
lot of fun.
absolute load of fun. And now TBA just sent me something. What did you just send me over here? Hang on a minute. Oh God. Now I get scared. I get scared when you guys start sending me this stuff. WWG1, you had sent me one having to do with Trump and a pirate ship. Send me that one for Monday, if you would not mind. Also, send me the one with Sylvester Wardiga, the other spider. Send me the other spider dog, if you would not mind. Send me the Trump on the plank, the spider dog, and send them to me for Monday. I will put them in. I will put them in. So I can't do it right now, but a couple of last things for you. By the way, Tracy, you knew that Kamala Harris recently had a birthday, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Turned 60, as I recall.
Yeah. And it turns out that her staff has a unique sense of humor. They apparently held a birthday party for her at the Golden Arches. And I know. Not only do they have a sense of humor, apparently they like living risky. But they someone took a picture of the event, and I don't know. I mean, I guess I could say thank God for her this one hasn't gotten out there, because I don't know. I mean, I know it was her birthday and they were trying to celebrate, but I don't know. I don't think her staff did her any favors with this picture. Just saying. And TBA, thank you for that one. That was absolutely pricelessly funny. All right, this last one's going to get me in trouble with YouTube, and don't worry, I'll clip it out later. But it is amazing to me what AI is able to do and what people are doing with it as far as the creation of memes and live animation, that sort of thing. I played something similar to this the other day. And what was the song that went along with it? Oh, yeah, it was Fortunate Son by Creedence Clearwater Revival. Well, apparently the same person or the same group that made that meme through AI made something similar to it with a great song from the 60s called The House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. And with that, this is going to be how we take it out. I hope you guys enjoy this. This runs for about 1 minute. Check this out. Like I say, I'll clean this up after the stream's over. say, there are some very, very talented people out there. Absolutely talented. And I found that and I thought, you know what? That's just too good not to close out the show with. I was like, yeah, we're going to throw that one in. Oh, Tracy. Oh, before we pop off here, I found something else, and you've probably heard of this comedian. I'm sending you something in private chat.
Okay.
That you will absolutely get a kick out of. No, guys, I'm not trying to tease you here or exclude you. This is just, this is between two. Yeah, Tracy, when you finish watching this, let me know what you think of it.
I will.
But I just sent it to you in private chat.
I'll watch it as soon as we close out here.
Yeah, and I want to thank all of you guys for being here for Front Porch Brunch. I love these sessions every time we get together, being on the weekends or during the week. But this one, I'm not going to lie. Lots of energy in the chat, lots of great comments, lots of fun. You guys have been a blast. Tracy, thank you for co-hosting with me this morning. This was an absolute glorious hoot.
It was so much fun.
Oh, thank you for texting me this morning to ask if you want. Yeah, absolutely. And I'll see you Wednesday night on my channel. We'll get together and co-host Chatting on the Porch. But folks, have a great weekend.
Absolutely.
We love you guys. 10 days. Just saying. Anyway, love you guys. Have a great weekend. And as always, remember the words of that great American philosopher, Tom T. Hall, when he said, "It's faster horses, younger lovers, older whiskey, and more money." Have a great weekend, guys.